slowly dead in me. I feel it come alive, the darkness brings me light. There ain't no stopping it, and you will never hide from me. Pain of the change, what have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change, this body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast, hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. I'm still inside, I'm still here. What have I done? When did this all start? I have become a monster in the dark, a hunger like no other, running on instinct. What's this creature? Always inside of me. The pain of the change, what have I become? A creature of the night, ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change, this body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast, hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. You better hope so too. You better hope so too.
Pen to paper, a lost friend's letter. In darkness I travel, my eyes upon a house disheveled. Walking the halls, all the pain I see, paranoia and anxiety. Usher was telling me, paranoia rising, plan's not fair. We left her there, a tomb cold, but for her it could not hold. Paranoia rising, the house is listening, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. Usher's ghost, the house's host, like the wind she flew in from the cradle. No one could save, soon the grave. The house of Usher would but cave. Her body on mine, we both lost to insanity's tide. Paranoia rising, the house is listening, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. There's no place for old men, a breed going extinct, as the youth coddles each other, and love appears to be in the air. Breeze singing and trees living, a time of generations dying. The sea is full, yet so many are falling. Many born to die in neglect, with their unaging intellect. To ages to be forgotten, the world is promised to the young. I will travel to eternity where age cannot go. I shall transcend this life so bold. How age makes a man invisible. He wanders alone, tattered as his clothes. Forgotten soul finds song in his heart. Monuments of magnificence the seas have taken me to. Byzantium. To ages to be forgotten, the world is promised to the young. I will travel to eternity where age cannot go. I shall transcend this life so bold. Sages standing in holy fire, spiraling as the masters of my soul sing. Desire overwhelming, don't deny but consume my heart. I know not what it is, but take me to eternity and unknown things. To ages to be forgotten, the world is promised to the young. I will travel to eternity where age cannot go.
Sorry to kill the music, but I got to get started here. And welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. And what else? I was going to say something else. I told myself earlier, I was like, yeah, I'm going to say that on the show. I might just say that. And I don't even remember what it was now. Must not have been very important, or might have been. I don't know. Who knows?
It'll come to you right after we're finished with the show.
Then I'll yell.
Yeah. In the middle of a story and scare the crap out of everyone.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was I was going to say. But anyways, I just remember thinking there was something I needed to say right after I said that. Right after I say, what join us from the real reality. And now I can't remember what it was. Well, whatever. We can get some people up in here so we can start talking about some stuff we got to talk about. I got a story that was posted on Paranormal Roundtable, the group. And somebody says, what's up with the band? Is it band? I talked about this the other day. I got attacked at our farm, ranch, by our cats. Well, they're not ours. We're friendly with them, and they wouldn't attack you normally, but they were fighting with one of the dogs.
Yeah, had to break it up.
They were our cousin's animals.
Mm-hmm.
The dog was over there visiting. He just likes to come and chill, and the cats were like, hey, what's up? Apparently they had beef back at their farm, and I was like, what's going on over here? Why are we fighting over here?
You got beef, let's eat.
And so he ain't no punk, and he started whooping on the one cat and had him down, and because it's a pretty tough dog.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some mean dogs out there. They're not playing around. They're there for a reason. And these cats, so the cats ganged up on him. And one of them was on his back. And I felt like it was a little unfair, and I just wanted to stop it before the cat clawed its eyes out. And so I just made a quick move, grabbed the cat. That one wasn't the one that got me. He turned and he tried, and then he stopped when he saw me. He actually didn't, but the other one was in the middle of fighting, and I was trying to break them up. And that one was like just fighting because it was on its back. So it got me. And but you should have seen the cat though when I got done. Actually, there was nothing wrong with him. He just because the dog didn't even try to like bite him. He just was holding him down.
Yeah.
And this cat just came running. They just came running over there.
Yeah.
And jumped on him. And that was it.
Came running to help out their homie.
Yeah. And the one cat was just kind of watching, and he was like, hey, Heathcliff, you need some help? And obviously he did. He's like, why are you standing there? He's got me on my back. This isn't UFC. You can't fight from your back.
Yeah, cats aren't grapplers. They're strikers.
But that dog is a pity. What is he? Pity. What's the other? The boxer.
Yeah.
Mix. And he's, there's a couple of them out there, and they're not nice. They're friendly with us. Like I can go up into the house, and not get attacked. Now I went up in there a couple times, when my cousin, because they have that camera and they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over there to go watch the game with her husband, and I was like, well, I'm here. And she was like, just going in, the door's unlocked. Well, I know the dog is like running around in there. Dog came running up. Like, who are you? What are you doing? What's going on here? He's sniffing my pocket. And I'm like, this dog is big and aggressive. What do you do? Luckily for me, I had stolen some steak from the buffet, and it was in my pocket. And that was from my brother.
From the Sirloin Stockade.
He was like, here, take this. I said, dude, we're not seniors yet. He goes, speak for yourself. I'll be 55 next month. I was like, dude, at the time, he's like, I'll be 55 in a few months. I said, that's right. You are going to be a senior. I said, it's time to start stealing from the buffet and go to bingo. And
get away with it.
And so I did. I went ahead and put it in my pocket. Thank goodness I had it in my pocket, because he was like, what is it? What you got? He looks up at me like,
come up out them pockets, big man. What you got?
So I put it in my pocket, and it was catfish.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't steak. And I said, here you go. There's some catfish for you. I was going to save that for my brother, but I guess I'm not.
He's like, let me hold a little something. Let me hold a little something.
Let me hold a penny, nickel, dime. Penny, nickel, dime. What you got? What you got? Holla, 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 holla.
Holla, holla, holla.
I'm like, damn, this sounds like you and Holla. Jalapenos.
Do you want halal? Is that what
I
you
don't want none of those. None of those jalapenos on my food. Bring it. And I threw it down, and he took it.
was actually saying halal because he converted to Islam?
He's a weird dog, too. If you've seen how he eats, he'll look at you while he's eating. He's like, you make a move, he turns. Keeps you in front of him like this. Now that we're friends, though, like he'll just come up to the, like if I'm out on the porch at the ranch, he'll just come up and be like, hey, you got any more of that catfish? I'm like, dude, that was months ago. I'm watering the grass. What are you doing? Get out of here. He's like, I know I should have bit you. I should have bit you. Like, what are you talking about? I'm never going to give you catfish. It's never going to happen. I don't go to that place very often. And then I'm like, why am I talking to this dog like it's a person? So I have to go in there and grab him a snack or something, you know, because he's like, I'll beat your dogs up if you don't give me some snacks. I'm like, okay, fine. God, you wait till my dog gets bigger. He's able to fight. Then you'll probably just join you against cats. I don't know. Anyways, it's a hard life. It's hard out there. You know, we got a bull out there now. He's still young. We'll see what happens. My cousins are like, you know, he's going to be big. Most bulls are. He's going to be aggressive. I'm like, we don't want that. Because I'm not going to be able to go out there if because he don't see me enough.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go. And then
gotta be used to it.
You go out in there and they'll look at you and then they start moving their feet back and forth. And you're like, dude, come on now. I don't know what to do. I want to raise them for breeding. I don't want to raise them for beef because then you got to have steers and all that. Let's see. So I got to get a Clydesdale so I can ride it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put 380 pounds on some poor animal. The horse is like, it's just, my back is hurting. You know, it's crazy. But yeah, so talking about the real reality, we're waiting for people to get in here, right? We don't want to do too much. Hey, Harp, what's up, man? It's good having you on the show the other night. I got something I want to read when I get enough people in here, and it's about a Bigfoot and a Dogman clashing, which was interesting. And so it's funny because Nelly had said something about moon-eyed people from the moon, goblins from the moon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a listener that messaged her and said something about, I'd be interested in hearing about that, like if it was real, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't, but Nelly made a little short story, and it was actually pretty good. And I thought, that's pretty interesting, but it was, you know, it was kind of like this little short, real quick little thing, but I thought that was pretty good, you know. But I told her, I was like, you know, these people who are saying, oh, you're just making this stuff up or whatever, like, do you know how talented? I mean, I'm pretty talented, but damn, I mean, I'm pretty convinced at this point you could, with all the stuff that I've been told, you could use it as a springboard. But damn, dude, I think that at this point I would have just become Stephen King. I'd just be writing novels and become a millionaire. Why wouldn't you? You would just do that. That's the dumbest.
Yeah, if you can make up stories like that,
Look off the top of your head.
just like every other day. You're making up a new story for the live stream.
You know how long that would take?
Several new stories like every week.
And they're saying, well, it's AI. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I was doing it for 3 years over at another person's channel. So didn't know much about AI. And just a pretty good memory and know how to retell people's encounters to make it interesting. You know, because a lot of these are all interesting. I'm not, don't get me wrong, but sometimes people don't tell it. Wow. Well, that's not gonna. You want to throw that? There goes my coffee. I was trying to put that little piece down, and it wasn't having it. But sometimes people can't. You know, they by their own admission, they're just like, I can't retell it like you do. You have to do it a certain way, and just throw it away. Throw it out. Okay. It's got the plastic all floating in there now. I don't want it. We got enough plastic in us already. But you have people who are just very ignorant, and they say the most ignorant things. And what it is they can't do it. They can lie. They've proven that, but they can't retell an encounter to save their life. And they can't get stories. That's where the AI stuff comes in for them. They're able to use AI to make up some crap. And that's the bulk of what people are doing now. I've seen on some of these channels don't even have a narrator. They have a narrator. They don't have a person that's real. And I've told people before, if you want that machine gun, shotgun story, then you need to go to those channels. Because I'm sure that we could be a lot bigger than we are if I was willing to do that, sell out, so to speak. And I'm not. But the haters are going to hate. They're going to do and say what they're going to do. It doesn't matter. You're always going to have that. And you're going to have people that are going to come after you and they're going to say all kinds of weird crap. And it's motivated by jealousy. Absolutely. So welcome everybody to The Real Reality and welcome all the haters that are amongst us. I know you're watching intently and you're trying to get clips of everything that you can possibly get so that you can run around and tell people that I'm this, I'm that, I'm the devil. So there you go. Good for you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us views because I don't give you views and you give me views. So I feel bad. I think this is a very one-sided relationship. I feel like I'm taking from you. And at this point, you're actually paying us because the other day I was going to say this. Thank you for all the donations we got on Monday's show. By just mentioning these people for a little bit, you guys did us all a service and you gave us a lot of donations, more than we've had all month. And so I thought, man, I feel bad because, you know, everybody was just giving us money to and it was like we were talking about these people. I felt like maybe, you know, they're actually spending so much of their time and their labor and their energy to send people over here and to watch us themselves, and that you guys are over here donating money to help us. And I'm telling you, because we're getting attacked like constantly every day, all the time. And it's frustrating and it gets old. But when people react like that, it's awesome. Because that has to be like the most frustrating thing.
Like salt in the wound.
Yeah, just sit there and watch somebody that you absolutely have committed your life to hating to the point of worship. Now, we talked about what the definition of worship was on Monday. And what they're doing is absolutely idolatry. It is worship. They worship me. They absolutely worship me. Worship God through Christ, not me. I'm telling you again to do that. Don't worship me. And then everybody's paying me to say things about you. So that has to be a slap in the face, like 5 fingers slap so hard that, you know, you actually, you know, get off your ass and get a job. They wouldn't do that, but
never.
Yeah, but that's the crazy thing. So I don't know. I almost feel like, you know, they're working for us. I know you're giving us free kind of work thing here. As soon as we get on the show, they're like, something happened. Amazing dumb. It strikes again. Jeez Louise, dude. Every time we get on the show, something happens.
Yeah.
A homeless guy walks into one of our buildings and takes our clothes off. You know that let me tell you something. This is good. I counted. And Anthony, you know this is the truth. We counted. We're not even joking about this. 5 of the last 6 lives. I'm going to repeat this, and you're going to think I'm lying. I'm looking right in the camera. 5 of the last 6 lives. Within an hour to an hour and a half of us being on the air, someone has gone into one of our buildings and got naked.
Pretty much, yep.
Am I joking?
No.
This isn't even a joke, folks. I
wish you were.
Yeah, I'm being completely serious. A couple of them we got photos from. They're like, did you know this person was walking around the building? And I'm like, I do now. I absolutely do now. And in fact, I'm going to tell you something even worse. When we went to go and give one of our guards a ride who doesn't have a vehicle, that happened let's see. That was Friday. That was Friday. It'll be Saturday morning. Saturday morning, this guy, I'm not even joking, man. We're just talking right now until people can get into the show, whatever. Listen to what I'm going to tell you, man. This guy walks up to me and Anthony and Scorpion. Scorpion was with us too, and we were giving him one of our guards a ride, picking him up, whatever. And so, in the morning, I give like 2 or 3 people a ride every morning. And so I was giving him a ride, and he didn't know our vehicle, so he was kind of looking around like. So I was like, "Hey, it's us." And then we see this guy squirt into the building real fast, and Anthony was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Look at Anthony's face. Look, you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Anthony goes, "Was that guy naked?"
It gets old. Like,
dude, he had on his chonies, as we say in Spanish. No, he wasn't naked. He wasn't naked. He had suspenders on and underwear. And then Scorpion's like, hey. He yells at the guy. The guy comes back out of there. He's real friendly. I'll imitate him. He comes out and he goes, he's holding a razor, right? A razor like this, shaving cream and a bar of soap and a towel over his shoulder. He goes, I'm just looking for the restroom.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for the restroom. Why are you guys, what's going on? I just need a place to bathe. Holy crap, man. I said, dude, that ain't no bathroom that you can bathe in, dude. There ain't no shower in there. He goes, I'm just going to take a horse bath. That's what he said. I said, I don't give a damn what you ain't going to do it in there, man. He goes, well, then what did he say? Where is the park?
Yeah.
And Anthony goes, well, there's parks all over the place. What do he goes, I'm just going to get in there and wash my ass real fast.
Yeah.
And just, and then I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go out to the woods. I'm going to wash my ass and then I'm going to leave. I said, man, you can't go into there ain't no woods over here. Around downtown, right? There's some parks you can go to. He said, well, I just got to Austin and they said there's a lot of places that I could go and wash up around here, that they're real friendly to the homeless. I said, man, if you're down on your luck, I could see, people being like, hey, poor guy, you got, but you just flat out told 3 guys, security guys, hey man, I'm gonna come up in your building and I'm gonna wash my ass in the sink.
Oh yeah, and the fact that he came here specifically to be homeless. Like he didn't come here.
He said that.
He didn't come here to stop being homeless, to get on his feet, to like, let me go to Austin. There's all these opportunities for me to better myself. No, let me go to Austin so that I can be homeless there and get more free stuff.
No, it was crazy. And he had a bar of Irish Spring.
Yeah.
Right in his hand too, didn't he?
Yeah. He
was still in the box. He goes, I just need to take a bath. I just need to bathe. I said, man, I feel for you, man. I wish you could take a bath there, but you can't do it here. He's like, what about that building over there? I said, that's ours too. Don't go there. That guard over there will pepper spray the shit out of you. I said, she's crazy. She will not. That's a female guard over there. I told him, don't do that. She's very on edge with the homeless people. Do not. And he goes, well, just tell me where the park is at. And we all pointed in the direction. He said, over there by the metro, where the train is, right? And he said, we all went like that. And he goes, okay. And he takes off walking up the street up to the other. And I'm going to tell you this, because Ken's my friend, but he looked like a young Ken Gerhardt, didn't he?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, that looked like Ken Gerhardt, man. But he was not Ken Gerhardt.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But I just was like, damn, dude. And he was
Bizarro World Ken Gerhardt.
Yeah. And his teeth were all like his 2 teeth were all like, oh. He's just like, I don't know. I need to take a bath. I just need to take a bath.
Yeah, because you got to freshen up when you go to the homeless camp and rig up.
It was crazy, man.
Got to be nice and fresh for when you do drugs under a bridge.
He was
right across the street from the police headquarters, and they do nothing.
And you know what it is too? They'll look like they're 30, 40 years old, and they're like, "How old are you? 23."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Damn, being out in the sun." Tony says he's getting Gerhardt. He's the Bizarro World. He hates cryptids. He goes out of his way to attack cryptids. He don't like them. Ken likes cryptids, and so he can't be Ken. I need to message Ken and tell him, man, we should take a picture of the guy. And then he looked like him. I said, man, we should take a picture of this dude. But now he's walking away and in his underwear. We don't want to be taking photos of this guy. People be like, what are you doing with photos of this man in suspenders and underwear? Well, he looked like a friend of mine. Yeah, it's Austin. We know. Where were you living before? San Francisco? Because you're hanging out at the Iron Bull the Iron.
What was it?
What's it called? The Iron Bear. Iron Bear.
Oh yeah, the Iron Bear.
Because bears are supposed to be big, burly, gay guys.
Yeah.
See? Well, I don't know how they dance. I don't know what
prance around.
What do they do? Woo! They do the worm.
Yeah. like Vito on The Sopranos.
Oh yeah, and the chaps.
Yeah.
You're like,
And he gets caught and he's like, what? It's a joke.
it's a joke.
It's a stupid joke.
Dude, I had to go into Oil. I'm going to say this too. Oil Can Harry's.
Uh-huh.
That place has been there forever. It's in a part of the. There is really no gay district in Austin. I think the whole thing is there's just gay. It's everywhere.
Just like peppered everywhere.
Yeah, it's just peppered everywhere. But there is a little area called the Warehouse District. And a lot of nice clubs and stuff there. But there's like a gay area there. And we had this guy that worked for us that ripped us off bad, man. And somebody told me, I mean, this guy you would never guess in a million years, dude. He was back then we didn't call him trans and all that training.
Yeah, he was cross-dressing.
He was cross-dressing. Yeah, he was cross-dressing. And this guy that was looking for him told me, he says, "Oh no, he's friends with the DJ over there." And that DJ, I'd known that DJ for years. He's a big black dude, but he was gay, and he had been in our club, DJing whatever. So he came in there, and that DJ, I go, "Do you know this guy?" Because he stole a bunch of money from us, This is back in the late 90s, early 2000s, whatever. And he says, "Yeah, I know that guy. He hangs out, and he goes by the name of Tina or Tanya. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, some kind of name that was with a T.
Yeah."
And he says, "Yeah, you're gonna have to go to Oil Cans. That's where she hangs out." I said, "She." And back then we didn't do the they, them, he, she, whatever. It was Generation X. Back when the other generations were too young to be doing any kind of club thing. We were the young people. And I said, "What do you mean she?" He goes, "Well, that's what we call him. That's what you call him. I call him, whatever, Maynard G. Krebs." That's what he looked like. Had a little goatee. But apparently he had cut it so he could go. And so I had heard that he was just hiding from a bunch of different people because that's why he was doing that. But somebody else told me, nah, because if you talk to this guy, you would never think that he was that way at all. Never. You would not in a million years. He was married. He had a kid.
Yeah.
Very, very into his daughter's life and everything. And so I had to go in there to look for this guy. Been in that club one time in my life. I was with two of my friends, and boy, were we out of place. And they were literally listening to YMCA. Well, I didn't go in there. They were listening to something else. I don't remember, Depeche Mode or something. And then YMCA came on. And they were all dancing around. And there were dudes, with the banana hammocks and stuff. And they're all muscular. They get all in shape and stuff. It's like if you see these guys in Austin all in shape walking around, you're like, oh, that's a gay guy. It's like, I want to be built. I want to get big and strong like a gay guy. Because you're working out, you're like, I want to look like one of those gay guys. They're so big and strong. There's your soundbite, Icky Ike. There's your soundbite. I want to be one of those gay guys. He's gonna repeat it over and over again. I want to be one of those gay guys. That's what you're gonna do.
He had Josh Turner talking about what
he wants to be a gay guy.
He loves big old muscled up oily gay man.
He hates white people and Jewish people and he's racist.
And he loves the mans.
He loves the banana hammocks. So I go in there, dude, and this guy, there's a bartender. He can clearly see we've never been in there before, never been there since. But he calls me over to the bar because he could tell we were in there and we weren't looking for a good time. And he's like, "Hey guys, what are y'all doing here?" Like you could tell, like they're territorial, dude. Mm-hmm. They got their own little couple bouncers come up and they're just like, "What do you want, asshole?" I'm just like looking back. I'm like, And then one guy's like, "Are you lost? Are you lost?" And I'm like, "I think so, man. I think." They're like, yeah, you need to go on. Get up out of here. Go on. They weren't doing that. No, they were acting like normal guys, but they were, they were like big dudes too. They came up and they were like, "You guys looking for somebody?" And so I had a picture. I said, "Yeah, this guy right here." I said, "But your DJ, the one that DJs on the weekend, gave me this photo too." And it was of the cross-dressing photo. Mm-hmm. It was I said, "Do you know this guy?" And they look at each other and they kind of like huddle up. They're like, and they turn around. They're like, "No, we don't." I'm like, "You're lying. You're freaking lying. I know he's been in here at least. He's not here tonight. I can see that. Unless he's in the back where the baby oil is and Diddy's back there." He's like, "Close the door."
Close that door, yo. We got some booty party going on up in here.
So he wasn't there or whatever. But then a couple days later, right on the weekend, right before he got busy, he walked up, straight up walked up. He used to wear a leather jacket, and now I know why. But he walked up and he was just like, "Hey man, here's the money, man." And I was like, because he didn't steal, like he owed us money, like we helped him out,
Yeah.
like we lent him money, like we helped him, well, you know. And then he just went AWOL for like 3 weeks or something like that. But we knew he was around. He was just dodging us. He's like, "Well, I didn't want to show up until I could pay you all the money you lent me. Thank you for helping me get on my feet." And I was like, so I asked him a question. I said, so do you dance over there at the, and he says, "Yeah, I do. I dance over there like a couple days a week." So they actually they had a drag queen thing going on.
Geez.
But he was swearing up and down. He's like, "But I'm not gay. I just go in there to make money. I'm just going there to make money." And everybody's looking at him like, "Yeah, dude, well, it's better just to be honest with what the hell you are."
Like the whole myth of the metrosexual.
Like, get out of here.
No such thing.
But after that, I mean, I'd see him every now and then, and I never spoke to him again. But I did go in there. Now, I've never been to the Iron Bear, the one that they're always calling me, Iron Bear or whatever, you know. Never been in that place. Don't know anything about it. I've only been into one of those clubs that was exclusively that way, and I did it one time to find somebody that owed us money. And believe me, it wasn't a pleasant experience for me. Nothing against the gay people, whatever, but it's just not my thing, dude. I mean, I go in there, I don't want to see a bunch of sweaty ass dudes, you know. And another thing too, like, man, guys smell. Okay. I feel bad for women. Women are like, you know, I mean, I guess, you know, women can smell too, you know what I mean? But men have this like perma-funk, dude. If you've been around in locker rooms, man, and there's some people that don't have a real strong, like, you know, like, thank God, like, none of y'all, I have to walk around you guys, you know, I don't smell you guys or whatever.
Yeah.
But there are some people that they just smell, dude. And like, you go in the men's locker room.
The past few times when we've had to work out during the day and
It's
go in that
horrible.
locker room, it's just rancid, dude. It's
rank,
like, what the
dude.
hell is wrong with these people?
Well, they're working.
But I mean, it's like hundreds of people going in there, you know.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So, yeah,
I can't stand it, man. And it's the only time I actually will sit there and wipe down the machines and all that. Because at night, you got the run of the place. That's where it's at, to go work out at night. When I can, I go at night. Tonight's legs, I'll be in there doing legs. And and so, but you go in there and it's just bad. I can't imagine. I feel sorry for people if you're gay, because you have, and not because you're gay, but because you have to smell a sweaty dude. I mean, like, you're attracted to that. You're attracted. I mean, so you have to be, it's got to be hard for you ladies, man. You know, it's got to be hard, man. I can't even imagine, dude, just having to deal with men. Like, you know, just because I've been in locker rooms and all kinds of things, and it's just not my thing, man. Enough joking and fun, right? Having too much fun here. The ops are going to get mad. They're already cutting off the pieces of shit to make videos of me, whatever.
Whenever we start having too much fun, it activates the homeless bum collective consciousness.
They do.
And it's like a signal gets sent out to every bum in Austin, like, oh, they're live streaming, they're having too much fun. Let me strip down and go into one of their properties. Break something.
It's like the little signal goes off, and they're like, like, brains, because they don't have any. They just wander in there to go bathe in the faucet. You know what they like to do is they bathe in the swimming pools. Golly, caught them bathing in the swimming pool so many times. But it ain't nothing personal. I'm not talking, you know, if you're that way, you're that way. I don't know. But they're trying to push that narrative though so hard. Like, hey, guy, but when you talk like this, it's kind of hard to sit there and convince people that you're talking, you know. He said, I should know because I am one. I mean, I'm not. I don't. I mean, I sleep with my mom. I mean, people. He just can't do it. That's all. You can't do it. Can't be me. That's a sad thing. Everybody wants to be, they want what we got because, you know, we got it. And they want to know, how did you get that? Well, it's called work. And they're like, that's something we can't do. We can do a lot of things, but we can't do that.
It's got to be another way.
It's got to be another way. Let's expend 15 times the energy. And
skirting around work.
When we could have just done the work. How do you get stories? There's got to be another way. AI generator.
Talking to people? No, that's.
So let me get started here, man. Let me get started here. Enough of the Chuckle House here. Let's see. All right. So here it is. Golly Jennifer posted this. And it came from a place called Mysterious Creatures. I don't even know what that is. It says here, I have a story to share. It happened back in the 80s in Michigan. I lived in a secluded area. My nearest neighbor is a couple miles away. I enjoy the peace and quiet behind my house and all woodlands. So there's lots of wildlife around. Anyway, one day I sat out back in the evening having a beer. Now, you got to remember, I read this like 20 minutes before I left for the show. I just saw this. So that's why I'm reading it. I didn't try to commit it to memory. Having a beer and relaxing when I hear a blood-curdling scream. Now, see there, that sounds kind of like a blood-curdling scream. Like, who talks like that? You know, in all the years I've ever had somebody tell me a story, they've never said, I heard a blood-curdling scream at that time, mind you. My senses began tingling, the moonlight glinting in the eyes of the creature. Nobody talks like that when they tell you a story.
Yeah.
When they give you, I've never had it, you know. They don't go, it was a dark and stormy night. I remember.
It was spine tingling and bone chilling.
August 12th, 7:28 a.m. Wow. That was the morning. Yes. You just said it was night. Yes. Which one was it? Yes. So it says here, I heard a scream. I saw a Dogman just inside the tree line go by with what looked like a small monkey in its hand. Now, they don't actually say, dude, I saw this weird looking werewolf-like creature, which is what most people say. This person just says, I saw a Dogman. It was just walking through the tree line. It's very nonchalant. The Dogman was just taking the night stroll, right? But anyway, I digress. It says, just inside the tree line, go by with what looked like a small monkey in its hand. The monkey was clearly dead. Now, I've seen Dogman a few times over the years. Oh, yeah, okay. I know they're in the area, so I wasn't too surprised to see another one. Not really? You're not snapping photos at this point. You're not trying to, you're seeing them on a regular basis. This is not a physical creature, folks. This is right here. I'm going to tell you right now. Anyways, I'm moving on. It says, so I wasn't surprised to see another, but I was a bit confused by the monkey. I've never seen them in the area before. That's because monkeys don't roam around in North America. Just, okay. Anyways. So about 5 minutes go by, and there 3 enormous Bigfoot go by, clearly tracking the Dogman. I came to the conclusion that the little monkey was in fact a baby Bigfoot. Did you report that to the BFRO? Because they'd love to hear this. But minus the Dogman. Make those Nazis.
Yeah.
Another 20 minutes went by and all hell broke loose. Screams and howls like I've never heard before. It was clear the Bigfoot had caught up with the Dogman and was killing it. The next day, I went to see what I could find. It was maybe half a mile away where I found the area they had killed it. There was blood everywhere, but no body. There was too much blood for it to have survived, but it looked like it put up a good fight because there were tufts of fur from 2 different creatures there. Yeah, you analyzed it right. Like I said, I've seen Dogman in the area before with that incident and since then, but that's the only time I've seen Bigfoot. I would estimate the Dogman was around the 7-foot mark, but the Bigfoot were much bigger, maybe 9 foot and a lot bigger built. And yeah, and this isn't Golly Jennifer's story. She posted it from a place called Mysterious Creatures. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know who wrote that. Like I went to Mysterious Creatures. It's like I didn't have a whole lot of time to research it, but it looks like a group or something.
Yeah.
But you know, so let's talk about this for a minute. All right. First of all, it's not Golly Jennifer who put it in our group. It's not on her. Okay. But somebody wrote that shit, or somebody wrote that from AI, right? Do I believe it? No, not at all. For two reasons. This is why I bring it up, because this kind of stuff does happen. I'm convinced it does. I've never seen it personally. People always try to say, "Have you seen that happen personally?" Well, hell no, I haven't seen it personally because I'd be rich because I'd bust out the video camera if I had that much time to watch them kill each other. And it's like I've seen one of these before. Let me go get my camera, my chocolate milk, and my popcorn.
Everyone calm down. I know exactly what to do.
These are Dogman. These are Dogmen. Not werewolves, folks. Dogman.
And these are the type 7. This is the type 7 Dogman.
They look like dogs. These are the St. Bernard men.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find these anywhere near the South. They're usually up in the north, near North Dakota. You just make it up.
Mhm.
North Dakota, or Pierre, Illinois.
And
That's
the,
where you're going to find them, and specifically.
and the golden doodle dogmen are native to Raleigh, North Carolina. Everyone knows this.
Then you got the Siberian Husky from Siberia, and they're husky.
That's why they're called Siberian Husky.
Exactly.
Many people don't know that.
Wild Man George says, "You haven't missed any stories." Well, I just read one, if you want to call it that. It's definitely a story. Now, is it an encounter that somebody had? Hell no. But not to bag on these people because I don't know who they are. Okay, but I know bullshit when I see it, and I just thought this is ridiculous because people will actually send in their encounters or they will tell me about an encounter, but that's not it. So when you're reading this stuff, a word to the wise, you can obviously tell who in the hell starts a story like that. Like, how many times has somebody told you a story? We'll go back to it for a minute here. I have a story to share. It happened back in the 80s in Michigan. I live in a secluded area. My nearest neighbor a couple miles away. I enjoy the peace and quiet. Behind my woods, all the lights of wild, blah, blah, blah. And this is, anyway, one day I sat down in the bag having a beer, relaxing, and I heard a blood-curdling scream. Nobody has ever sent me a story or told me a story and said, I heard a blood-curdling scream. Nobody's ever done that. It's very descriptive. But when somebody talks to you or writes out an encounter, that they're not really going to do that. They're not going to, in my experience, I haven't had anybody tell me that or do that. And it sounds contrived, like it doesn't sound real. Now, this person's obviously a believer in that Dogman is a flesh and blood species of animal, and that Bigfoot is a species of monkey. Because the thing it had a little monkey in its hand, he said. A couple things wrong with that. One, I don't believe that Bigfoot is a flesh and blood, purely flesh and blood, and I don't believe that the Dogman is a purely flesh and blood. Now, do they get into each other? Yes, they do. Do they get into it? Yes, they do. But if this was a real story, let's just pretend like for a minute that it is. You would have probably the Dogman being a werewolf type creature. And I do believe that if it comes across the child of a Bigfoot, if they grow that way, I do believe they would unalive it. You know, for the most part, they're not going to go. I don't think they're going to go out of their way to do it. But if this is a person that's out there running around doing this through the use of black science, which is basically black magic, and they would probably do that. I wouldn't see why not. I mean, they're not going to want them in their territory. Now, this person, though, who is doing this is probably going to have the use of other magic. I don't think that they're going to just run from the Bigfoot and they're just going to be this epic physical chase. Now, they do fight. They get into it because territories overlap. It does happen. What these things are and is anybody's guess. I mean, but this guy, the way that I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but the way they write this is like, oh yeah, I'm seeing the Dogman all the time. It was a normal thing. And then I just saw 3 massive Bigfoot. That's a normal thing. But, they're just like nonchalantly telling you, that this, and then they just went to the area where this altercation happened. Mm-hmm. Man, I put that on anybody I know that I would not go right there the next day to where that happened. Because I'm a sane and rational human being.
No, they're more afraid of you than you are of them. Just like sharks.
Yesterday, there were lions just tearing up some water buffalo. They were just killing each other. The lions were flying in the air. And you know what I did? I walked over there a few hours later just to go inspect and see what was. Wouldn't you be worried that there would be the buffalo, the bull buffalo would be in there, or that the lions would be there? Why would you go walk up in there?
I saw a pack of hyenas about a quarter mile that way yesterday. I'm going to go check that area out.
I'm going to go inspect it.
Yeah.
There's blood everywhere. Let me just. But strangely enough, people do report doing things like this. Now, do I believe every story that comes across? No, you can't, because there are people too who want to just see if they can trick you too. And I've not taken the bait on some of those. Maybe it was a bad idea. I know one of them went to another friend of mine and gave him the story, and everybody thought, "Oh, it's amazing." Good for you. But that weird descriptive stuff, I don't know. Doesn't really work for me. So we had somebody tell us, right, that this is what happened to them. This came out near Flagstaff. Now, we've talked about Flagstaff before, and I'm pretty sure that's why this person messaged me and said, hey, I got a story about Flagstaff. And it's a guy named Buddy. And then well, that's what he goes by. And his wife, Catherine. And call her Katie. That's what she wanted to be called. So Katie and Buddy. And they were vacationing. They actually live in Phoenix. Now, we were talking about Arizona earlier, how damn hot it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to these people last week, and they were just like, it's getting so hot over here. It's Arizona.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's why we go vacation. Flagstaff. A couple of years ago, that's when this happened. Well, a couple of years ago, it was 2019. But, they said it was right before the big whatever. And so they were in Flagstaff, and they were driving to the Grand Canyon from Flagstaff. Now, I've actually made that drive. I've done it. I've done it once. But you go down this 2-lane road. I mean, it is, and so they did it late at night, and they were going to. I think it's called the South Rim. I believe that's what it is. And this thing crawls across the road, looking like it was half dead. What it was, it looked to them like a gorilla mixed with a man, and it was crawling across the road, but it was more of a torso. This is really graphic. The midsection connecting it to the lower part of the body was pulled out. And the legs were just kind of like on the other side of the road. And this thing was crawling away from its lower body. While this was happening, there was this wolf-headed like creature that was kind of running along the side of this creature. Like it was kind of like running behind it. Like from behind, like from they're heading toward the rim, this creature is in the road and this thing is running along in front of it. And there's another something to the right. They didn't get a good look at that. They couldn't stop. So this wolf-like creature, very large upper body, huge thighs, big monstrous thing, runs off the road real fast. And they run over the midsection of this primate man type creature. Now, I mean, so I asked them, I said, what were your thoughts going? They were like, we interrupted something. We don't know what it was. And I said, so this ape man like creature, what did it look like to you? They're like, I don't know, like a Bigfoot, like maybe a Bigfoot has been described.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me if I had ever heard of anything like that. Well, I told him I had, and he was like, okay. He goes, because I know, that I've listened to some of your show, and my son-in-law had told me that he had listened to my show for a while. And so Xander, thank you for that. But he goes by Alexander, but people call him Xander. So
yeah,
it's not the first Xander I've talked to. But I didn't talk to him. That's his son-in-law. And he told him, hey, check out this guy's channel. He gave him a few other people options, whatever. So I'm not the only one that probably got this. But that's fine, So having talked to him last week, I wondered about this. Now, when you hear about this kind of stuff, Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever, and this was actually something I was going to talk about next week. I had it slated for next week. This week we were going to do the guy seeing the Kali creature.
Mm-hmm.
But we ended up doing this. And I'll tell you why, because I read that story right there and I was like, well, this would be a good time to just throw that one in there. I mean, it's ready to go. We'll just flip them, So sorry, Dick Richards. Dick Richards was like, oh, you got to tell that story. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not. I'm going to tell this one because
I was going to say he's not going to be happy.
This is very interesting. But I'm going to tell you this. These people now, they didn't see a real long thing. This isn't a long story.
Mm-hmm.
They've never seen a Dogman before or since, if that is what that was. And they've never seen a Bigfoot before or since. And when I got on the phone with the guy, he didn't tell me. He goes, oh, man, we were traveling through from Flagstaff to the Grand Canyon. It was overcast. It was quite a nice pleasant night. The stars were twinkling in the sky. There was none of this descriptive stuff. He's just like, I ran over a damn fang in the road. Maybe because he's a boomer, he's
just cut right to the point.
Wasn't a lot of descriptive whatever.
Yeah.
He just like, man, I just saw some thing. He actually called it a son of a bitch. Son of a bitch in the road. And he's originally from Texas, but they live in Arizona now. They retired over there. Wife is from California, and he's from Texas, kind of like me. But I'm from Texas, wife's from California. But so that's what happened. But he said, look, he goes, we get to the area over there, and I've been there. He's like, and we got a hotel, whatever. He goes, but we were in he goes, we didn't sleep. He goes, I had been trying to quit smoking for years. He's like, I was a pipe fitter, and I always just take a break, you smoke.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but now I'm older, and I need to quit. He goes, and I had been smoked maybe 2 cigarettes in a month. I smoked a whole pack. I said, you see that? People say that Dogman and Bigfoot don't kill people. Look what they're doing to this man. Look what happened to Buddy. Buddy's going to go die now because of y'all. You understand me? Dogman, Bigfoot, you hear me?
They're in league with the tobacco
You're
companies.
out there killing monkey babies, making this man smoke, emphysema.
That's a real conspiracy that they're being made by Philip Morris and tobacco companies to make people smoke.
You don't know what kind of backdoor deals be going on. And I'm not trying to be ugly or mean. What's up, Percy? Percy. Now that I talked about that clown, that dude, I noticed now, Percy. That was so weird, man. I wasn't even looking at the chat. I was like, wow. But I was nice to the guy. I was not mean. A lot of kids were mean to him. I just knew he was weird.
Yeah.
But, so this person, tells me this story and, and there wasn't a lot of descriptive whatever. So I said, look, what color was the creature? And he says, I don't know. It was dark. I had headlights on and I would say brown. This is what he said. I said, what about the wolf-like thing? He goes, I don't know. And he said, but the middle of this creature, though, kind of looked like maybe it had been run over a couple times. Maybe something was running it over. He said a couple miles ahead of us, there was a vehicle. Because, it's that one, whatever. He said that thing had slowed down and was pulled off the side of the road and they caught up to it. And he was like, and I was like, damn, did they see that thing? Why are you pulling over like that? And he said that the creature that was kind of like running along behind it, like it was watching it die or something. And there was something else to the right. That creature was gray. The one to the right looked black, but it was in the darkness, so you don't know. He goes, and we drove by it so fast. He goes, and once I passed that scene, I sped up. So people are of the opinion that Bigfoot would kill a Dogman. People say a Dogman would kill a Bigfoot. But let me tell you this. If the Dogman and the Bigfoot are the same size, the Dogman, or whatever you want to call it, the werewolf type creature, is going to have an advantage because it has those big old massive teeth. And it's got, big old claws. From what people have described, I know the one that I saw on the foot, it had a big one, big claw. But this is I think it's a mismatch. I mean, if they are the same size, and if they were just purely flesh and blood, which I don't think they are. But what was this that was in the road? What would that be? What would you classify that as? And that isn't the only time that we've heard of stuff like this. We've heard of different,
roadkill from beyond. I
mean, there was a lady who had a house in West Virginia who told me a crazy story. Her story, she was living out in the middle of nowhere, up in the Appalachian, whatever. And she was talking about how there was the house that they lived was an old Victorian house on the edge of the woods. And she was a kid when she was living there, and she moved out of it when she was 17. It was her aunt and uncle. Her parents were going through bad divorce, whatever. Her aunt and uncle had money, so they took her and they raised her and her sister. Now, one of the things that she told me is that when she was a child, she would see these things that looked like ghosts. And that's what she described them as, apparitions that would come out of nowhere. And then one of them would come out of these smoke rings. That's really crazy. She's like, there was this old antique mirror in her bedroom, right? and she would see this thing come out of the mirror, and it looked like there were like these rings, like a spiral,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but she didn't see it connect. Like she said, they were like rings, and this thing would just come flying out of them. And then when it got to she could see it up until the point it came out of the rings through the mirror. Then it was invisible.
Oh.
That would be terrifying. I said, what did it look like? She goes, it looked like somebody had like stabbed her face a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like holes all in this creature. And so she said that this thing would come out, and she's like, and it was terrifying. She goes, and so one night, she's like, I went downstairs. She's like, it was early spring. It was still nice and cool, a little bit cold even. She's like, but I took my blanket and my pillow, and we had a screened in back porch. She's like, and I started sleeping out there. She's like, I would start out sleeping in my bedroom. Then I would go downstairs and I would sleep downstairs. Her name's Karen. But Karen said that she was always downstairs in that closed-in porch area. And her sister, Sandra, would come down and join her. Didn't talk to her, but I got a story from her. So one night they were both downstairs sleeping because they would see this ghost. And there was a ghost of a child. There was this woman that had hollowed out eyes and like marks all over her face. And then there was a child who was always like in a perpetual state of surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And his mouth was open, and the same thing, eyes were hollowed out.
Yeah.
Had a little Dutch boy haircut and would run around. You know, she's very descriptive too. She said that the woman had no feet. The child did, and you could hear him running with these
little pitter patter of feet.
heavy, but it was heavy. She said it was heavy,
so like,
and then when you look, like it looked like one of his shoes was bigger than the other.
uh-huh.
Her sister noticed that. So it's creepy because she said that it would go boom, 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 running down the hallway, and it was this. And when you would, oh god, this kind of gave me the chills when she said this. But then they one day they saw it, and they had this lady that would come clean the house.
Mm-hmm.
This elderly, or not elderly, older black lady. And she said that it was like, hey, child, what are you doing? You know, why are you running? And then who are you? You know, what you don't live here. Child turns around and just screams. And this woman like fainted, laid down in the hallway, woke up and was like, I ain't never going back to your house again. So they're out there on the back porch, right? And these creatures came up out of the wood line while they are asleep on the back porch. The first time that they saw something big and hairy, they looked like a Bigfoot. Two of them. One was about a foot taller than the other. They come out of the tree line, and they had hair all over their bodies. Hair, because I talked about it. I asked them, I was like, hair or fur? Fur. No, hair. This part of the face is, you know, whatever. There's like this beard. Just completely, you couldn't even see a mouth. Both of them. Looked male, you know, but they couldn't be for certain, 100%. And she says that it scared us so bad, we're like, now we're going back in the house to sleep. But then her sister said, I'm staying out here the next night. She's like, I don't know what those are, but I don't want to deal with whatever's in the house. So they were divided. She goes, well, I'm going to sleep inside the house. She gets shaken awake. She gets shaken awake by the little child-like entity. She looks over in the corner and she sees this big shadow standing there. And at that point, she's like, you know what? I've had enough. I'm going to go downstairs. At least I'll be with my sister. So I said, what happened? You saw the Bigfoot? She goes, no. She's like, no, this went on for like another week. She's like, and we were getting so tired. We were at school. We were falling asleep at school. So the teacher calls the aunt. Says, hey, you know, and they went to a small school, you know, they were like across the hall from each other. The whole class was in one, you know, the other one. And she's like, I was in 8th grade. She was in 7th. She's like, you know, I'm about a year older, little over a year. She's like, and Sandra was doing really bad. She wasn't doing good in school. She goes, I was able to actually get my grades up. I could keep them up. My sister was not. She had a learning disability, and she was dyslexic, right? So she says, I can't deal with this. This is too much. You know, the aunt's like, look, I'm working, you know. Her and her husband were having some problems financially. And they were just always in a pissed off mood, the way she said, she's like, we weren't going to add to it. They couldn't have children of their own. She's like, my parents were not nice. They were just more than eager to give us up. So that's sad. You got people that don't really care about you, but these are Appalachian people, Her dad was very poor. He came from, the hills. And his family had been moonshiners for generations. And so he was a bootlegger, and then it just went on and on. But she said, look, this is, and of course, she's like 60 years old. She's older than me. She's in her mid 60s. But she said that this went on. And she's like, we were kids. And, she's like, we didn't have the internet and all this stuff. Like, we didn't really either. She's like, there were books about Bigfoot and ghosts. She's like, and we had maybe 2 in our library. She's like, we did not, and they didn't live too far from a library. They had access to it. It's a very small town. I'm not going to say the name of it because people will know exactly who they are if you say the name of it. But, she said, look, there was these creatures that came out of the woods. And she's like, and a lot of the people that lived in that area had talked about these creatures. They knew they were real. They weren't like, oh, my gosh, you saw a Bigfoot. Like, it's a normal thing. Mm-hmm. Like, people see them regularly. She's like, and literally, she's like, I was like 14, my sister's 13. When we saw it. She's like, I just turned 14. Sister was about to turn 13. She's like, and then we ended up not being traumatized, but she goes, when we saw the other creature. And I was like, wow. There was a full moon, and there was a legend in that area that some man that was there had been attacked when he was a logger by a wolf. And that it had changed him into something not unlike a werewolf, and that he would roam around on a full moon. Interesting thing about that is that this creature, the guy who supposedly used to be amorous with the woman that owned that house. Mm-hmm. The woman that used to own that house, her husband died under mysterious circumstances. She was said to be a very mean and petty, very cruel woman who abused her children, who abused her own children, who even went so far as to light her son's hand on fire. Poured kerosene on it, ruined his arm, his hand, because he had stole food. Now, why is a child having to steal food? Unless you're not feeding them. So you're sitting there and you're listening to this person tell this story. Then suddenly she's like, it was a tawny moonlit night. I'll never forget it. I was on my 5th of Jack right there at that time. I was like, man, I was, yeah. Then I realized it was just 3 PM. I was just effed up. And then she's like, you're snoring. You're like, Karen? Yeah. Double-decker bus. What?
Oh, this isn't Jack Daniels. This is wood alcohol.
She's like, I'm blind. It's that damn moonshine mixed with the bathtub crank. We're doing it in the bathtub there. Step right up, folks. Come on, first class and ride with the white folks. Right? But no, this is, she said, look, she's like, I was, I'm joking, Karen. I told you I was going to make some jokes. This is how it is. But no, she's not a drinker. She don't drink. She's like, she's been drunk twice in her life. Once was at prom. Can't blame her. She got older and they moved to Richmond when she was 17. So, and she went to prom with some guy. But to her credit, that guy ended up being her man for 11 years. And then sadly he passed away. But yeah, she's had a pretty tragic life. Like I've said before, Karen, you could write a book about the things that have happened to you, not just the paranormal stuff that happened to you in that house. But here's the interesting thing. There's 2 kinds of experiencers, folks. I'm going to tell you this right now. Maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 472. I don't know. But there is at least 2 kinds. The one experiencer who has experiences their whole life, something oftentimes triggers that. Maybe it's an alien abduction scenario, an out-of-body experience, near-death experience, something, right? They see a dogman, a Bigfoot, a ghost, you name it. Right? But there's another kind the kind that is experiencing shit because they're where, excuse my language, but that's what it is. But they're experiencing it because of where they live. Because I asked her, I said, and I thought it was going to be this, I was like, oh, so when you were 17, you moved to Richmond, and then you ended up meeting a guy who was a rich man, obviously. And, because she told me that they lived pretty good for a while. So obviously he was wealthy. She didn't tell me he was wealthy, but I could tell his family was well off. And she's like, and I was considered very beautiful when I was younger. And I was like, oh, no doubt you were. And she says, this is the truth. She's like, I had one other experience one time. She's like, I was 34 years old. She's like, and that's 17 years later. That was even significant.
Mm-hmm.
Now I stopped her and I said, are you sure? I said, now I'm going to give you a couple days, message me and tell me if you remember. So she texted me and I was like, oh, okay. She did have another experience when she was 38. She had something call her name and she looked up and saw like a shadow in the door closed to an apartment she was staying at temporarily. So that could count. Well, so she had two. The one when she was 34, she believes that she picked up a hitchhiker that was no longer alive.
That sounds familiar.
Her and her sister and their cousin picked up a hitchhiker, and the cousin, he was like, nah, I think this is a bad idea. The person got in the back seat with them. They were in a sedan.
Mm-hmm.
The guy says, can you stop right here? They stop. There was an old general store in the middle of nowhere that was abandoned. He walks up to the store, looks in the window. He's carrying like a briefcase, walks around the side, and then they just see him go like he's gone. She's like, I was with two other people. So it really isn't her. So she didn't really have much going on in her whole life. It was just that property. So that tells you that property was very powerful. I think of kind of like the Black Swan Inn.
Yeah.
The way she was describing it. So you're sitting there and you're going like, okay, so this isn't you being haunted. Like a lot of people say, well, this is the property's haunted. I think there's something. Well, what if it's a person? But these people will live on these property, and the people that lived there before lived on the property. So the woman that lived there before them was not they were a couple and they had 3 kids. So it wasn't them. They still knew them. Their kids were grown, and they were now living in a retirement home. They couldn't take care of themselves anymore. One of the kids lived in Georgia, and a couple other moved somewhere else to the Carolinas or something. I don't know. She's like, people do better, and they don't stay there. They move away. They don't stay there. It's like this kind of like our hometown. They're like, oh, you still living there? Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh, what's that?
What went wrong?
What happened, brother? Brother, why? Like when I tell people I moved back there to have a ranch or whatever, or try to get it going, whatever, they're just like, things didn't work out. Yeah. You're like, no.
You need help? No. You falling on hard times?
They're like, they want to buy you dinner. You want some Taco Bell?
Yeah.
No, I'm good because I can give you some taco. I can give you $10 for some Taco Bell. That's what you need. Because you look like you need, because
think
you've lost weight.
I think I have
You're still fat in the face. You'll always have a fat head, but you've lost weight. You look thinner.
I think I have an HEB gift card somewhere around here. I can give you that.
You're just like, come on, man. Just tell me the truth. Are you on drugs? Have you been doing drugs? Finally, you're just like, yeah, I'll take the Taco Bell gift card. I'm fine. Whatever. I need to use the restroom anyway. It's been.
I've been all stocked up.
But no, it's. She said, you don't stay in this area. You move on if you can help it. So she said, there was this, but the people that lived there before them, because those people had lived there for like 50 years. She said, so she goes back because there was so much crap that went on in that house. And she's like, a lot of it, she didn't remember it all. She did not remember it all. And she said that this is the thing. She goes, I could not believe how much stuff my sister and my cousins were remembering. She's like, there were several of my cousins that would go and stay there because my aunt was the one that had done well. You know, her husband he worked for the railroad and he made a lot of money. And he was a great guy. She described her Uncle John as the salt of the earth. She loved him more than she loved her aunt, which was her blood aunt.
Yeah.
She said, John, if you asked him nicely, he would never say no. He didn't have children. Well, he did. He had a child that passed when it was real young. And then her aunt, he got with the aunt. He lost his wife and his child to like scarlet fever or something that I can't remember what it was, but nowadays it wouldn't be something that would kill you. Because I remember thinking, damn, but she's like, back then they didn't have, So, you got to remember too, like this guy was older. She goes, he was older when we moved in. He was already like in his 50s, And when he was real young, he had a wife and daughter that had passed away, or wife and son, whatever. And he had some sort of weird, like she had read and that you were supposed to rebuke these things or whatever, these spirits. And he didn't want them doing it. And she thought it was weird because he was a really God-fearing man. He made them go to church and everything else. He wasn't puritanical, but he was,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting. So I asked her the question. I was like, why do you think that is? She goes, because of his wife and his kid.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had some kind of an affinity toward these spirits. But they were there before the people who they got the house from. They were there before them. The house was so old, though, that the people that were before them are the ones that actually built it. So there were these people that built it, and there was a bunch of tragedy. Part of the house had burned, and then they just fixed. You could see where the part was that burned back in the 1800s, back in the 1820s or something like that. It was an old place. She said that it was very well built, but then the people that came that she believes was the woman and the son that died. That woman was the one that was very abusive, to her children. And then there was the couple who was now really elderly when she was young. And they've since passed away, and their children were a lot older than her. They were all grown in their 30s and 40s. And then there was her aunt and uncle that took over the place. And it was a big property. And it was about 60, I think she said it was like 60 acres or something like that, 60 something acres. Big place. And then there was some land that he owned, like further down the road, there was like a 200-acre tract of farmland that he had. And people would rent it. He would rent it out to people to farm. And there was this thing running around, these spirits running around in the house. Sometimes they would see these weird shadows. Sometimes they had red eyes. Sometimes they didn't. But she said there was so much that she couldn't recall it all. And she told me, I don't recall everything.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, if I did, I'd be crazy. She's like, and I assure you, I'm not crazy. She's like, I didn't have a lot of experiences. She doesn't listen to my show all the time, unfortunately, but she does listen sometimes. And she's like, you talk about people who've had all these experiences. Like I did, but it mostly was just at that house. After that, I don't know. But she did say, though, that she didn't remember it all. So maybe she was really adept at blocking it out.
Mm-hmm.
That could be another thing. But then you had this, weird encounter that they had with something that looked like a werewolf. Now, interesting that she called it a werewolf. And when I said, oh, that's what people call a dogman, she goes, no, if a dogman is, this was her talking. She's like, I've investigated this. This was her words. She said, I've investigated this. If this was a dogman, she goes, I don't think it would have clothes if that's two different things. I said, I don't know if it's two different things. I guess it's speculative, isn't it?
Of course.
So she said that this thing came out of the woods when she was sitting on the swing on the back porch, or off of the back porch. There's a back porch, where it's closed in, and there's a swing by this tree. She's like, and I'm on the phone. I'm talking to my friend, or my sister's on the phone talking to my friend, and we're going to go to the movies. we're all excited because back then it was a big deal. You go to the movies. It's not like it is now.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, well, we could wait till it just streams. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Going to the movies was a cool thing.
It was a big deal. She's
Yeah.
like, we're going to go to the movies tonight. You know, excited, you know, especially back then.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I remember seeing Jaws when it first came out. She's like, I didn't even want to go to the creek.
That movie scared me when I first saw
Yeah,
it.
it's a creepy movie, but you know, and the music
Mhm.
really brings it home. But people didn't want to take baths after that. They didn't want to take a
Yeah.
shower. You had literally kids throwing fists. I want to take a shower because the shark's going to come
Yeah.
out. And
Nightmare on Elm Street had me not wanting to take baths.
I never that one, and then what's his name, Jason. Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And then not Freddy, Mike Myers.
Yeah, Mike Myers.
Those just never was any even remotely scared by those at all. And then Chucky was just a comedy to me. And I always hated my friends wanting to go when they come out. Oh, they got the new Freddy, Chucky, Jason, Mike movie. What I'm like, I ain't going to that shit. And then there was some, you know, girl that you want to say, okay, I guess I'll go see it. My friends are going to go. I don't give a shit about that. I just, but
Yeah.
and then you got to spend your money on it. You know, and it's like, dude, to heck with that. Because my parents weren't the parents who were just going to give me the money.
Mhm.
You know, my dad acted like Warren Buffett. You need to work for this money. You know, but no, it just, when you look at this situation that happened to her, she's like, my sister was on the phone planning for the night, you know, whatever. She's like, it was daylight. She's like, it was summertime. She's like, the same year that we first saw the Bigfoot, but we had never seen the Bigfoot again. We just saw him that one time. She's like, and I see something walking through the woods. And she goes, and it was like white. And I'm like, what is that? She's like, she goes, and I was curious. So I got off the swing, you know, and she goes, and the fear from seeing those two creatures that night had kind of worn off. You know, we continued to go out on the back porch because my sister was stubborn. So we weren't really, I just got used to it. So she's like, and I'm walking toward the tree line. And she's like, and I get to the tree line. She's like, or at least close to it, enough to where I could like throw a rock, you know, just gently hit it, you know. She's like, and I look and I see what this thing that's wearing white is. There was a tattered white shirt, and this guy had jeans, and the jeans were all ripped. She's like, and the head was weird. She said it had ears on the side, and there was an elongated snout. And I looked and I thought, this is not a person. This is either some kind of weird mask, or it is a werewolf. Interesting, though. We have a guy that's working with us now. I didn't get him on the show. He was a priest for 10 years, and then he left the priesthood and got married. Because he's like, you know, I wanted to be with women. You know, I couldn't. But he's an interesting guy, and he claims one night when he was working a job site, and this isn't unheard of, that he saw a werewolf dressed like a clown. Am I lying?
Mm-mm.
No, he really told us this. But I mean, I don't know. It's up to him. He works with us. I mean, I'll get him, see if he wants to come on, and he can tell you that story. But we've heard of that before. We had somebody tell us that they were at a carnival, and there was this big, tall. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, and I can't remember which one of you it was. It was one of my listeners, and they were trying to figure out what episode and all that. And it was this creature that was like maybe 7 foot tall, and it was obviously wearing a clown mask that was trying to cover its snout, but it wasn't doing a very good job. So it just ended up looking like a strange looking wolf-like headed wolf clown thing. So who knows what mask was covering what? And like, if you're going to wear a clown mask, why would you be a werewolf underneath it? But this is what this other guy saw. I'm not going to say his name until he's ready to come on and talk about it. And he said he would, but we'll see. What Karen saw. So she's standing there by the tree line, and she sees this guy It was a male. It looked like a man. It was wearing like a button-down shirt, but it was all ripped up. And there was this tattered jeans or whatever, blue jeans. They were blue jeans. I asked her. She goes like Wranglers, Levi's. I don't know, whatever. And at that point, she's like, I think you're overthinking this. I said, I'm not overthinking it. I got to know. I got to have the details. She goes, yeah, you're right. She's like, I didn't. She goes, I turned and ran and went back toward the house. She's like, for years, I kind of thought, man, why did I screw up? Should I have stayed longer? I said, you probably should have not stayed longer, because if you did, you might not be here. Here's where my problem comes in. She talked to this other guy and he tells her, oh no, because, if it was a Dogman, it's not going to hurt you. You have these people that tell you that's a good snake and that's a bad snake and know the difference. Go up and look at the head. If you're close enough to really, and a lot of people don't have good eyes. I have decent eyes, but if I have to read really up close, like right there, I can't. But I can see at a distance and everything else. If you get up close enough to a snake to where you have to look to see if it has a triangular head, which is obviously, a viper, or if it's a rounded head, then you're close enough for that thing to probably strike you. How about we just stay away from it? And if you can't, then you got to do what you got to do. But if you're to err on the side of caution, so I don't like this classification of, oh, that's a Dogman, oh, that's a werewolf. Well, if you saw the Dogman, don't worry about it, because it's not gonna. Is this knucklehead told her that? Oh, you could have probably observed it. She said, no, it had clothes. Oh, well, then that's a werewolf. Yeah, good thing you ran. I don't. And I had somebody else tell somebody that I interviewed, well, they told me not to run because it would trigger the animal instinct. Yeah, maybe. We don't know how animalistic these skinwalkers get. Is that what it is? Is it a skinwalker? Was that a skinwalker? Do we know if that was a skinwalker? No. I had a woman reach out to me. We're talking about California. The other day we had a guy on here and we were talking about Bigfoot and Dogman and all this stuff in California. There's another one. This is near Lake Tahoe. They were in the woods near the lake. And they see this creature literally on the side of a hill, kind of just bouncing, like it's trying to keep its footing. Then it kind of falls. As it gets toward the ground, like it's going to boom, it's going to hit off of the side of that cliff or whatever. It turns into a ball of light. Ball of light, white, just white. It was like a white ball of light, like with energy, and it just kind of floated down and then kind of moved around and then reconstituted itself into a creature that was wearing pants, but it was a werewolf type creature wearing pants. Her name is Amber. Her and her friend saw it. Well, her boyfriend. But first she was saying friend, and then she said, well, my boyfriend. So that's what the confusion. But this creature, and they watched it. It was kind of at a distance, but they saw it. Now, what is that? Now you're talking about, oh, well, that right there, that's a were-dog. That's a dog wolf. We don't know what this is. How about you get the hell away from it and get out of there so you could live, because you don't know if that thing is going to try to unalive you or not. You don't know what that is. And these people that try to tell them these stupid things, they try to tell them stupid things like, why did you run away? That's not going to hurt you if it's a dog man. If you're in its territory. How do you know what the territory is? That we don't know any of this. You don't know where the territory is, right? You don't know if it is a man that's shaped. They say, well, I have a hard time believing that it's I have colleagues, that say this all the time. They have a hard time believing. I don't have a hard time believing that, because I've interviewed so many damn people who've told me these damn things, they look like people, they'll change. And they've changed right in front of people. Folks, we've had people come on this show and talk about, not once, not twice, but a handful of times, talk about creatures just attacking people right in front of them. The people come on the show and talk about it themselves. So if that's the case, if a reptilian in a casino attacks and bites a guy's head, right? We've had people come on the show and talk about bear-like creatures. We've had people come on the show and talk about dogman creatures, vampire-like creatures. It doesn't matter. There's a million of these people. First-hand accounts, and I've fielded a ton of these. A ton of these. The thing at Lake Tahoe is interesting. That wasn't a real long encounter. Just like this other guy, you know, Buddy, him and his wife Kate. They saw this thing. Now, Kate actually is interesting because when she was in Nevada, I'm sorry, the Sierra Nevadas is in California, but she saw this creature when she was hiking through there on this very famous trail that a lot of people hike on, but people die on it too. But this thing was walking like, and she said it was weird. It was walking just like a normal, like a man, but it was hairy, big, pointy head, very big quintessential Bigfoot. Then it turned and began to walk backwards while it was staring at her. So she stopped and ducked behind some trees. That happened when she was 16 years old, and she was with her cousin and her cousin's boyfriend. And they all saw this. A brown, tall, lanky creature with a big head, big old shoulders, massive. Not a real big waist, but just kind of thin. But but the shoulders were huge. Like it was almost disproportional. Well, she said it was. It was almost like it didn't look like it went. The upper body didn't go with the lower body. The thing she saw on the rim, going toward the rim, she said they were still miles from the rim, but it was the middle of nowhere. And I told her, I said, I get stories around that area because I think that is an area for the inner earth because it's right there by the canyon. Interesting. I got a not deer story from there, but it was like an elk. One of those red elk. They're all over that area. If you see them, you go there, you'll see them. And I tried to kind of follow where that was. I kind of looked on a map, and I was there, and I was at the hotel. I was like, I wish I could find this. There was no way to go run around out there. But yeah, this creature, these guys were walking around out there. They were on a hunt not far from there, and there is private land that they'll let people go and hunt these elk. But that's way back up in there. And there was like this kind of plateau where they were at. Like they go up to this hill, there's like this flat, and then it drops off, and then it goes back up. These things were walking around on their hind legs like people. And at first they thought that they were people wearing costumes. They're like, this guy, his name's Todd. And he said, dude, I saw this thing. It looked like an elk. Like it was one of those giant red elk, but it looked like a person wearing like a mask or a costume until they got closer. And I thought, that is not a person. It would take it's like the size of two people. Scared them so bad, they just called the outfitters to get us out of here. We don't want to be out here. And the guy's like, yeah, people see this every now and then. He goes, I just thought it was an illusion. He's like, an illusion? And I got to admit, this is something I pulled off of, Facebook. It was on a group. It was in a group. And I get stories from all over the place. I mean, you got to get them where you can get them. But it was, something that was so interesting because I hadn't talked to anybody who'd seen a not elk. Not deer, yeah, but not elk. Not elk. And I messaged this guy, and it took a couple of weeks to get a response. And all of a sudden, I got this message back, and he goes, yeah, I can tell you about it. Because he just mentioned it randomly in a group, and I saw it because I do go into all those groups, because that's a good source of, And like Madeline just posted there, if you have an experience, get in touch with me. I want to talk about it. Here's the thing. The thing in Tahoe, there was another drop off on the road. They were taking photos. They took a photo. All it looks like is a white blur at the bottom of the photo. And then it zipped off going down the hill. So there's no real proof or whatever of what they talk about. I mean, yeah, there's a photo of some kind of white blur or something. Does that prove anything? No, not really. Scary. It's scary as hell. Just reading the comments, which sometimes I forget to do. Somebody says Wendigo. Yeah. And then now somebody named Wendigo says, yeah, Arizona is a strange place. Percy says, what do you think Wendigo are? Are you talking to me? Who knows what they are? A pale crawler, or is it a condition that happens to people? They become cannibals. They become fine young cannibals. Because she drives me crazy. Ooh. Oh, dude. No, I mean, human being says bra's name is Wendigo. Yeah. When you stop and you take all this stuff into account, I don't know. You have property that is haunted. You have a property that is haunted, and then you have a Bigfoot, Dogman later on, werewolf, whatever it was, came. That wasn't the first and only. That wasn't that was the first time, but not the last time, and not the only time that Karen and her sister were being dropped off after a party one night. They were 16, her sister was 15, and this creature came running out and chased the car of the people that were driving it. They were trying to get away from it. And it looked like a man. There was no shirt. It was just a man, but he had pants. But he had a wolf's head. So she's like, luckily we didn't see it again after that. So I could say they really didn't see it, but their friends did. And their friends told them, man, what the hell was that? We saw this werewolf. And that's how they described it. Her uncle John actually described something like that when he first moved in over there. Before he had married, he hadn't moved in. He had stayed there while they were renovating it, and it was originally going to be a house that he bought. It was going to be I'm going to take care of this property. I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to sell it. It was a fix and flip, but it was going to be a short-term residence for him. So he was technically staying there, but it wasn't about to be a permanent home for him until he married their aunt. And then she was like, I like this place. So they put more work into it, and he built it up to be her dream home. And then they adopted the girls. And then later they adopted their male cousin. Because like she had said, times were tough, and their other aunt and uncle couldn't take care of him, so they let him come. He had a scary, scary encounter. Now get this, in those woods right there, with something that was white. Not wearing a white shirt, white. Kind of like a Bigfoot. The way that she described it, she's like, Don King? I said, yeah, his hair. The way it just kind of went up like that, like a treasure troll. I said, yeah. She goes, like that. It was white. And its face, it had a big goblin-like nose and a really protruding chin. Moon face, as he cried, climbed it. Yeah, abominable snowman. But it was white. And it came up out of the creek. It was down there in that creek, and it just ran up toward him. And then he's like, he was breathing on him, and it smelled like dead flesh.
So white isn't like the fur was white,
it was fur.
The skin?
Now, he didn't say it was hair. He didn't say it was a man at all. It looked like a goblin Bigfoot type thing.
Yeah,
with white hair, protruding chin.
It's nasty.
The eyes were blue. Right. Been looking at him, and he's out there walking around, with his book, very studious young man who was into reading. and it was like breathing on him. He got very ill after this encounter too. You know, people don't realize that either. There are people who get very sick after encountering these things. Sometimes people get sickness that mimics like radiation sickness. Now, I asked her this. I said, you all went on your separate way. He had seen spirits there, all this other stuff. The thing they had in common was that they really had nothing else happen to them after they left. So what was out there in the edge of those trees? She said it rarely came from the front other than that time that the werewolf-type creature chased the car.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that they would see stuff marching around in the back that looked like Confederate soldiers or Union soldiers.
Oh.
There was a skirmish that took place not too far from there. She said that it was crazy because there was like a camp of natives that they saw. One time they witnessed this, right there in the back of their property. And then they were just staring at it, and then it just kind of went like it was gone. Like they saw a piece of the past.
Mm-hmm.
Not unlike our friend from the Ford dealership.
Well, what about that the maintenance guy from the Choctaw casino?
Oh, you're talking about the cop?
I think he was a maintenance guy. Remember, like he came into the hotel room to fix something, but then he had this encounter that he shared with us.
Oh, that
his
guy!
Encounter with the Confederate soldier.
Holy crap! Yeah, because so here's the thing. Me and Score. Okay, we got a story from a blackjack dealer. Remember her? She was Choctaw, and then we got a story from the tribal cop, tribal police. We got a story from a bartender. And then we got the story from the maintenance guy. Because remember, you were saying at the pool, you were joking with Tony and me and Nelly and Scorpion and everybody. You were like, dude, now all we got to get is a housekeeper.
Yeah.
And we didn't get a housekeeper. We got everybody else at that casino. That's crazy. And then we had a person that we met at the restaurant, the waiter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you. Okay, so we had a waiter, and then at that little 50s diner, I don't know if it's still there, but that was a waitress that worked there. She gave us a story too. She lived in town at Durant, and her uncle had seen something that I need to look that up. We have the whole thing. It's filed under Durant.
Mm-hmm.
When I get home, I'm going to look at it, dude. That is, yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah. So that was another one. We never talked about that one, did we?
No, we didn't.
I wonder why.
I mean, I think that we like briefly touched on it like in an old live stream or something, but we never really told it.
Bad pup. Hey, don't be talking about Hillary now, okay? You're going to make them people from Oklahoma up there mad. You're going to be up there like, I get my benefits from her. Yeah. I get my benefits from the Democrats.
What am I supposed to
face my people and pretend like I'm a Republican? I'm a registered Democrat.
What am I supposed to do? Work for a living?
I ain't finna do that. The Democrats are going to facilitate me not having to work.
I'm going to get rich from doing boots on the ground.
And if you're a YouTuber or podcaster or whatever, and you are a Democrat, be a Democrat. It's just like if you're a gay person, be a gay person. You can, just be whatever you can be whatever you are. If you root for A&M or Notre Dame, that's your choice. Whatever. Be whatever it is you want to be, but don't lie to the people and fleece them and pretend like you're something that you're not. How about that? You want to hold people accountable? How about that? Why are you a registered Democrat pretending to be a Republican? You haven't addressed that. You want me to address all these things, which I have. Now you address that. Tell us the story. Right? Address all these lies. Right? Address it. Tell us. Why are you pretending? No King's Day, right? Were you out there marching? Of course you weren't, but your constituents were.
Yeah.
So, and Gracie, it's not about whether you are a Dem or a rep or whatever. It doesn't matter. Don't pretend like you're something and then be something else, because that makes you a liar. That's my point. So, please leave your shirt on for selfies. Yeah. So that's what you got to do, man. Absolutely, Bernard. We are all wolves. We're all the wolves in the sheep clothing. We have to. Folks, you have to wear that sheep clothing so you can fit into the societal norms. I know people are like, well, I don't want to do it. At some point, you're going to have to participate in the matrix and you're going to have to wear the sheep clothing. We are not sheeple here. We are absolutely not sheep. This is a wolf's den. And this is where the wolves come. But you have to fit in.
It's kind of like being locked up in a loony bin, but you're not crazy, and like you figure it out. Like, okay, I need to just go along and act like I'm like the rest of these people, and pretend like your system here in this loony bin, this fake psychiatry and all these stupid medications are making me better. So it's like you to a degree you have to participate to get out. You know.
Yeah.
Same thing with the world.
Yeah, and you go and they'll give you medication and they'll be like, well, we're going to prescribe you this because what would be better for us is if you and your whole family are on all these pills.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you not to. How about that?
You just got to admit, okay, actually, yeah, you're right. I am crazy and this is working and I'm seeing, I see the light now. Thank you, overlords.
Yeah, they key in on the fact that I said that I am a wolf in sheep's clothing. You're absolutely right. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. You have to be. Because if they know that you're a wolf, you know what wolves' big mistake is? Being seen by humans. They run around and then they get seen and they're predators. So ranchers and farmers will run out and the first thing they'll do is shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
So we here at PRT, we know the truth and we are not sheeple. We think for ourselves. And so we're not part of the cult of ignorance, which leads to the cult of death. So you have to wear that sheepskin, but you need to know that you are a wolf. And I'm your shepherd, but you're not a flock. You're a pack. You understand that, right? You are not my sheep. I live amongst you. I protect you, but you're one of me. I'm one of you. We are not sheeple. Don't ever make that mistake. The only time you need to be a sheep is when you have to follow the true shepherd, which is Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Don't be a goat. All right. When it comes to that, everything else, think for yourself. You don't have to listen to me. I'm not a dictator. And contrary to popular belief, I don't love Hitler. I don't care what this guy says. First of all, Hitler was not anything but a shill. Why do you think he lived? And he went to Argentina. That changes everything. They knew he was there.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to him.
Mm-mm.
I mean, give me a break, dude. F that guy, dude. I don't even know what the hell. Why would you follow that dude who was sent by the Weimar Republic to be a spy? You think he just all of a sudden decided he wasn't going to be? He started a war that was supposed to happen, and he worked with the Soviet Union very closely to start that war. Not a good thing. This isn't a good guy. And I'm never going to be like, whatever. And I'm not down with the British either, believe me. Yeah, John Maddox's British Empire behind it all. Yeah, exactly. Churchill, the fat little pig that he was. Anybody that talks like that, him, Kissinger, they all got that little.
Yeah.
They ain't good people. Believe me.
It's like a caricature villain voice.
You ever notice people with really thin lips too? They're like this, a little thin lip. They're always little evil ass.
Ted Cruz.
Yeah. They have that. They have no lip.
Yeah.
And they have the eyes that look like this.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, just you can tell. They have glasses and they're like little dots for eyes.
Yep.
Don't trust that mother. You know who I'm talking about?
That was
Everybody
actually
knows
like in
somebody
an
like that.
old book on physiognomy. Like that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
It is.
A physiognomy is a real thing. I don't care what anyone says.
They can say what they want, man.
You can deduce parts of people's character from their facial features.
And people say, well, eugenics, this and that, blah, 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 whatever. Just because the Nazis or the communists did it doesn't mean it was bad, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
There were things that they did that are normal. A broken clock and all that.
Yeah.
Right? But, they'll go run and take that out of context. Good thing for me, though, nobody listens or pays attention to this person. Make this go viral. Nobody gives a shit.
I'll make you famous.
You ain't going to make shit.
Why can't you make yourself famous?
You can make yourself famous by keep talking shit about us, and you'll be the biggest laughing stock on earth eventually. You keep it up. Because the bigger we get, the dumber you're going to look. You have a vested interest in all these conspiracies against you and all this bullshit. Keep it up, dude. You'll become the biggest retard that the planet's ever seen. Because the definition of insanity, right? You just keep trying this and it's not changing. Nothing is changing but the date on the calendar. Oh, that's right. Bigfoot predators. Yep, that's correct. Spiritual war.
Mm-hmm. I think your spirit has a physical effect on your face, on your facial features.
Hell yeah! Have you seen some of these people that look like vampires and demons? Because that's what's attached to them.
But also, like whenever people tell stories of being walk-ins, you know, like if one spirit leaves a body and is inhabited by another one, and that body lives that life with this other spirit inhabiting it, like the face, the eye colors, the facial features, they change.
Yeah, and that's true, because Chad, you know, Tony's stepdad, he claims to be a walk-in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like he had what, light-colored hair,
mm-hmm.
and then his eye color changed or whatever, like from blue to green or something like that.
Yeah,
it's really weird. And his hair color changed. And he has no memory from. And now he's from my generation, but he has no memory before he was 4, before that wreck.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly, Randy. If you have a mean spirit, you'll have a mean, ugly face. Oh, I don't know if that's mean, but it looks like an Oni mask.
Like a kabuki mask. Or the kabuki. Yeah.
Oh. Oh, man. I always think of them like Christopher Robbins. What's his name? They're just sitting there because we're giving them all these sound bites that they can try to.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't decide which one I want to make an out of context video of first. That's you, dude. That's you over there. Y'all are over there jumping around, falling all over yourself. You know, at some point though, you know, if you have a channel that's about this stuff, maybe you should talk about this stuff, right? That should be the focus of your channel instead of trying to destroy someone else's channel, which speaks to to what I believe the true fact is, folks. These are paid shills. How much do you want to bet cash money? These people have handlers. This one guy, he's referred to as his boss a few times. You've let it slip.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your boss? Who's paying you? You're so worried about me and my channel and the things we do and say. Somebody's paying you because you got in trouble. You did. Yeah. You got in trouble. You and Mr. Roofer, y'all got in some trouble. And you were told what to do. Right? Isn't that the case? Right? Because you're always up to something no good. That's what these people do. And then because they're crooked, because they are corrupt, the powers that be are able to turn a screw on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll let you go, but you need to go do this and that. Cause problems. This one guy especially, he's connecting dots. Help us to disrupt him, to destroy him, to kill him. Stress him out. Cause him to go crazy. Whatever it takes. And I've had people tell me this over and over again that they think this is what's happening. And especially in the UFO community, they're like, look, you guys are dealing with what we've been dealing with for decades. I say, who are you guys? He says, the cryptids. I'm like, I deal with all of it. You just never seen anybody like me because I'm a hybrid. Hybrid in the way that, like, I do all of it. It's hybridized. That's something that these people can't do. They can't fathom that. What happens if more people start making this kind of jump to connecting the dots? And we have a conference coming up in September. I probably won't be a part of it, but I've been invited. I'm not going to go, but it's important. And most all of my friends, 99.9% of my friends are going to be there. That conference is very important. I don't want to be there and be a disruptive element because these people have vowed to kill me. They vowed to do all kinds of things to me. And I don't want a disruption there. Because that's all that would happen is if I go, it just becomes a disruption. So but it is called Crossing Realms. And I do say that we are the ones that started that. Because the Dogman conferences were not really Dogman conferences, were they? They were Dogman and then everything else. Because the conferences needed to have that headline so that we could get the word out and people could go, people could learn about Dogman, Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs, you name it. There were UFO researchers there. There were ghost researchers there. There were Bigfoot researchers there. There were Dogman researchers there. Authors, podcasters, YouTubers on both conferences. A lot of people, 400 and something at the first, 600 and something at the second one. Ask anybody that was there, they'll tell you. Those numbers don't lie. They can pretend and they can make up all the bullshit they want. But the people that were there, like Monica was on the show the other night, Monica Rollins, and she was there. She was at the door. She knows how many people were there. So y'all had to quit talking shit about it, right? Because you were lying. You were all lying. People that were there, no. What do you think? The party was big. The parties were big. Because there was, and there's always an after party at every conference I've ever been. I have never been to a conference where there wasn't an after party. They're like, they had an after party. Like, no shit, dude. That's an industry standard. If you don't have an after party, then your conference sucks. But, yeah. That's pretty much it, folks. I mean, you tell the truth. You know, take the key and unlock the mind and open it up. Let people freaking in. Let them in. Let them through the door so they can witness everything. Why hide and hoard the information? You know, we're not hoarding the information here. Let's go and make you pay for it. We have not done that. We still have not done that. We need to, because we don't make enough for this. Now, last Monday we did well, but we're not doing well tonight. You don't do well every time we're out here. That's the thing. And I can't tell you, oh, well, you need to donate. You need to help out, make the show, whatever. I just got to put them on a paywall. Not all of it, but some of it, enough to keep the doors open so you can come and witness and see. I know times are tough. Davy Jones Larkin says, Tony Merkel will be a good ally. Well, he's already a friend. He was at my conference. I mean, what else is there? I mean, we talk. I mean, we're not like best friends or anything, but, you know, he's got his thing. I got mine. And one of the things that Tony was talking about, you know, to me was that, you know, you got to get organized.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a hard thing. Because, you know, he's doing this full time and this is his livelihood. This isn't my livelihood, not because I couldn't do it as my livelihood. You know, there's just no way, not yet. Maybe one day. But I think I'm still young enough to where I can, you know, I can keep doing what I'm doing. You know. The powers that be don't just get tired of these people fooling around and not getting the job done. They'll just come and kill me themselves. That's what I'm expecting. I've already been threatened like 1 million times. You know, are you going to threaten me? Do it. I was threatened downtown. I was threatened doing security. I was threatened doing this. Are you going to do it? Do it. What are you waiting on? What, are you scared? Why? Because if you do it, what happens? You become a martyr, right? They don't want that. You can't make it too obvious, can you? Might have to be suicidal, and I'm not. That's what they want. They want you to kill yourself. They want you to do it, do their job for them, right? But these guys are not going to do anything. You're going to do it in a way to where it's not, you know, discredit whatever they can do, try to make up lies, whatever, and some big reveal and something, but nothing you do sticks. That's your problem. That's your problem, isn't it? Because I'm an open book. Everything that these people throw it's going to come to nothing. He's gay. Well, anybody that knows me in my real life knows I'm not. And if I was, I'd be like, hey, or whatever, stereotype, but
yeah,
you be the way you are. Right? Do you see me chasing after kids or harassing women or any of these other things? No, I don't. Because there's no proof of any of that, because I will never do that, because I'm not that guy. Oh, he talked about drugs and blah, blah. Who gives a shit? Who hasn't? Clinton. Oh, I smoked it, but I didn't in hell. Like, I think that we crossed the Rubicon back when he was president.
You can tell by Mike's nasty mouth and rotted teeth. He's done a bunch of them.
So everything that they've thrown at me is a disruption. It doesn't matter. You know that? It doesn't matter. The powers that be want some kind of smoking gun, some kind of magic bullet, or they want death by 1,000 cuts. It's not going to happen. So when they come out with this bullshit, baloney, whatever the hell it is, you know it ain't true, because I'm an open book, dude. I don't deny what and who I am, or who I've been, or where I've been, or what I've done. I don't deny any of it. If you come to me, and there are people at the conference that ask me questions, and I was very frank and honest with them. Do you think there weren't people recording me or taking pictures or video? I don't care. They took some pictures of me. That was like 40 pounds ago, fucker. Now what are you going to do? He's obese. No, I'm not. I showed pictures of myself. My waist is not even like, dude, picture of you wearing an apron, that guy. He looks like the Hamburglar, dude, like just ate too much cheeseburgers or whatever. Dude, you are a fat guy. Do you not know that you're a fat bald man? Most of you are. You're all fat old bald men, and you're over there talking about me and saying I got hair plugs. Dude, I don't got hair plugs, and you're mad because this is my real hair and my real hair color. You are pissed off. So I must be a reptoid werewolf, vampire, or something, Nazi, whatever, drinking
Nazi,
blood,
communist,
gay,
and also gay, but also homophobic.
Also, you hate Jews, but you're also a Zionist. I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Dana says I'm a Zionist. I don't know. Whatever the hell, jihad, it doesn't matter. Whatever, call me whatever you want. Because I am none of those things. Not one of those things is correct. Anti-American. I'm not anti-American. I'm pro-Texas, but I love America too, because Texas is part of America. I want to see America be good. All this crap that they blow and they huff and they puff with no proof, not one shred of substance at all. It's become a sport to me, sticking it in your eye. All of you. You get together, you make a group. Oh, now with 100 idiots, now our IQ is 100. We're in the triple digits, guys. There's 120 of us. He can't beat all of us. Yeah, I can. Because quality is better than quantity, and there's a whole bunch of you. But you're still just a bunch of tards. So now you have a bunch of Wile E. Coyotes and Elmer Foots. Way to go. Congratulations. And you still can't do anything.
They got to share IQ points. Add them up.
Doesn't matter. Anyways, folks, this is food for thought. I mean, you know, when you ponder this stuff and you go back and you listen to these encounters and you talk to people who've given us these stories, these people see things. I think that there was something going on at that house. I think it had a lot to do with the land. I do. Portal? Maybe. Maybe it was a vortex. Different. A little different. That's the thing. You need to understand there's things to learn. There are portals and then there's vortexes. A vortex is like a spiritual superhighway.
Mm-hmm.
A portal is something usually temporary, or it's opened and it hasn't been closed.
Just like a door.
You know.
I guess like a portal would be more like a door that opens and closes.
Mm-hmm.
A vortex would be like a road, like a street or a major thoroughfare.
Yeah. Now, if you were to stop and analyze what's scary though, when you take like the guy that came from the San Antonio, Anthony,
Mm-hmm.
that guy. He claims that he went through a portal out in the middle of nowhere on the other side of Donkey Lady Bridge, right? And now he says that his timeline has been disrupted and he doesn't belong here and he doesn't feel normal. That is something that we have heard be told multiple times. The scary thing about that is you could literally be walking through the woods unaware and just walk right through one by that logic.
Yeah.
That's freaking scary, dude. Lawrence says it's not letting me donate, giving me an error.
Oh,
Doesn't surprise me. I think you're right, Automotive. I'm not going to say that out loud, but you're probably correct. But they don't like him either, though, because he's got hair. and he's not gray. So Ron is right out. They're not gonna like Jeremy. That's interesting. Takayashi says vortexes can overlap or interact with other field elements to create portals, but I think our definition on portal can be too vague or confusing. Many human body points are portals. And tomorrow would be the day that we would drop the what's it called? The
pre-record?
The pre-record, but we're not going to. Not going to be able to do it. I got too much work to do. Yep, Ravager says he can't donate either. Well, that's wonderful. That's lovely. But anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of what makes PRT PRT. Thank you for that, Morgan, whatever. But we appreciate it. We appreciate the help. We appreciate all of you tuning in. We appreciate all of you making what PRT is, which is all of us working together. My voice has been going out the last several days, and I've just been talking, and it's getting people's encounters, but then retelling them. I got to do that too. And it's when you do all of that, your voice goes out. It just does. So that's the hard thing is like you got to talk to you got to talk to the witnesses too. Not always, but a lot of times you got to talk to the witnesses. And then after you're done doing that, then you still have, that's half of it. Then you got to go and retell it, which is the rest of it. Because I can have it up here, but I got to get it to you. We got to disseminate it. So anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in. I got to go to work. I got to be on there by 11 tonight. So it is what it is, man. Anything else? Any questions before we go? We got a few minutes here, I guess, before I got to bounce. Can I get a... Hold on one second. Nice. What's up, Danny? Danny Fowler. And he's been a paratrooper for a long time. Folks, we forgot we need to do the giveaway. Oh, yeah. Who wants a giveaway tonight? T-shirts. What do we got? We got the black and gold ones.
Yeah.
That the paratroopers, the Patreon members voted on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pick some people. I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you guys pick amongst your peers. And now, it doesn't matter if you're a member or not. Just the being a member helps the show immensely. It really does. But, you know, if you want to pick, you pick somebody. Dustin Dante says, me. Dustin, have you won? If you haven't, you win. I'll pick you right now. And then, how about the members? You can pick who wins. If your name is in green, cast your vote to pick somebody. Davy Jones Locker says, pick me. Andrew says, can I get one? Can I get one? Julie's guitar, me, please. Hey, Debbie, thank you for that. You don't got to do that, Debbie. You've been around so long helping out. You don't got to do that. D-True says, are you a fan of magicians? And do you think there's a thing as real magic? Yes, I do. Not that I'm a fan of magicians. I don't care. But yes, there is real magic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've seen it in action. It's ridiculous. It's just people tapping into something they shouldn't be messing with. Dustin says, no, I haven't. Good. You win. Send your shirt size, and then we'll do the giveaway details down to the bottom.
Yeah. Make sure y'all read that banner scrolling down at the bottom for instructions on what to do if you're picked to win for a giveaway. So
Overbuilt says, I vote for Julie's guitar. So who else? If there's somebody in green and you haven't won, you can tell me now too. Or if your name isn't in green and you haven't won, say you haven't won. But let's try to vote for somebody here. Oh, Don, that's sweet of you. It's a thought that counts. Freddie Denny says, I've never won. That's Fred Denny, right? Yeah, Fred, what's going on? You never won, Fred? Aren't you the guy that drew the deal for me? Well, you're not even part of the giveaway, Fred. You just tell me what you want. Send me what you want, and I'll give it to you.
Because shoot us an email.
Yeah, shoot me an email. Because I want to give back to you because you gave me those pictures for the logo. Or we're going to use those.
But if you could, Fred, send the email to giveaways@prtpodcast.com. It's the one scrolling at the bottom of the screen. That way it doesn't get buried by people's stories.
Chris Cola says, I'll buy one. You don't have to buy anything, dude. Don't worry about it. Because we haven't gotten the store back up and running, and that's on us.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with that's not a knock on Seven Clay. That's not a knock on anybody but me, Anthony, and Tony. I like to blame Tony. He's not here tonight to defend himself, so it's him. Villain Vid says, I've never won. So come on, guys, let's give me some names here. Overbuilt chose Dan Stevens. You know what? That's on me too, because Josh Nonocchio said, let me know when you're ready, and I am not ready. Let me tell you something, man. Being on TV, that's another thing too. Like, I got offered to do that show, and it is all on me. It is not the people from History Channel. It is not them. I take responsibility because they told me to get to record with them, and I couldn't. This is the truth. I couldn't even. I'm too busy to even be on freaking television, dude. I'm not even joking. I did not have time to get on there and do the freaking show. Now they want to bring me on as a consultant or whatever and have me whatever. I mean, but I don't know that I'll have time to go record and do that. I've been offered to be on. I could have been on Coast to Coast. That's another thing. And I got offered by 3 different friends independently of one another. I could have been on a TV show with the once in a while William Shatner. They told me that they were going to fly me out.
I think it was just called Unexplained.
Unexplained. This is the truth. I'm telling you. They were going to fly me out there, and I couldn't get. And then I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pick a date, and I said, "Well, I'll call you back," or they'll call me back. And nothing happened. I just didn't go. I did the same thing with Coast to Coast. I did the same thing with. A big part of it is our own fault. But we work. Our job is all encompassing.
Yeah.
Finishing the book, that's on me too. I don't have the time. And right now with a merger, that your company's undergoing a merger, there is a lot of moving parts to this thing. A lot. And so we're actually we're absorbed. I guess technically we're absorbing them. They're a smaller company, but they're going to be a shot in the arm that's going to help take us into the future. They're young guys. They're ambitious. They want to grow. So you got to either do this or do that. And that's where the money's at. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, I need the money. This is what I'm caring about. I guess it's my career. It's my job. It's what pays the bills. This doesn't. This will pay the rent here. And that's about it. Hire some good managers. John, I wish I could, man. I wish I could, dude. I have a good manager, but we can't afford a bunch of more people to do all the managing. And we will eventually, this will help us grow. Their company's about a third the size of ours. So it will expand our company, but growing can be painful. And so there's another person, Orem. He's been telling me Orem is actually L.A. Marzulli's son-in-law. And he's been telling me to get in touch with you so I could go back on to Marzulli. But there again, I got to find time. I don't have time. And if you think I'm joking, go ask Josh Nonocchio. Go ask these people. They'll tell you that I had the invitation to go do it. It took time for me to go do Clyde Lewis's show. I mean, I had to move stuff around to get it done. I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, if you're busy, you're busy. And it's not like, oh, I'm in demand. No, it's not like that at all. I'm not busy like in the way that, you know, I'm the emperor of Siam. No, I am busy because I have a business to run. And like I said, we're undergoing change right now. And we were growing, and then we kind of stopped growing, and I had a little time, and now we're you know, having a merger. There's a lot to it. We got lawyers involved. You got lawyers. You can't just go, well, let's just go and run a business together. You gotta there's a lot to it. They got lawyers, we got lawyers, and we got to make sure that it works and that it's good for everybody. We have vehicles and all kinds of stuff, man. I mean, it's, you know, yeah. Well, Orem says that's partially my fault. I've been bedridden, back at work now. I'll see you get scheduled, my friend. Yeah. I didn't reach out either because I just been busy as hell, you know, and I'm sorry that you were sick, my friend. I hope you get well, you know, but, you know, these people, they like to say things like I said something about, Kimbo, you know, they're like, oh yeah. I fought Mike Tyson and trained the Gracies. Yeah, go ahead and say what you want, dude. That's a true thing. And I got a bunch of people that can attest to that. But Kimbo wasn't big time yet.
Mm-hmm.
When we were trying to set that up, that was my people talking to his people about it. You know, I'm not saying my people. I had Tony's stepdad and Arash and some of them.
Yeah.
And they had money to throw around, and they were like, our guy can beat your guy. And so he was fighting on the internet. And that's all it was. It was just going to be, we were going to meet like in Mississippi, like halfway. We were going to meet in Mississippi or Alabama or something. And we were just going to throw down, and that was it. And we both said like, hey, we don't want to fight in the middle of a parking lot. We're big dudes, man. Somebody's getting knocked out, dude. And I'm fast. I was faster than him. Tank Abbott, same thing. I mean, he's a fast guy. I met him down the coast. But these people, they're like, they think I'm joking. I'm playing around. I'm not playing around, dude. You think I'm playing around? I'm not playing around. Dude, I've been plugged into the fight scene for a long time down here. And people know me. A lot of people know me as that. I did the same thing that Kimbo did. It's just, you know, you take off the chain and you throw down, but it's illegal. You're supposed to be doing it, you know. But you do. You fight. But I haven't done that in a dozen years, you know. And I'm not stupid. I mean, dude, I'm 49 years old. Do you think I want to get in there and fight some 25-year-old monster that's been training for UFC? You think I'm stupid? I'm not stupid. I'm talking about the past, dude. This is not who I am now. It's not who I want. You think I want to get in there? But I bet I could still beat up 80% of the planet if I had to. It's more than I can say for you. You can't even walk around. You got diabetes and whatever else the hell you got going on. These goofy bastards talking all this crap. Let's see you do something. You know? So, you know, and I had that video of Tank wishing me happy birthday, whatever, and they're like, oh, Tank, you don't know. What does it matter? What does it matter? You're not me. You don't live my life. So you don't know who I know and what I don't know. I got friends in the fight game. I got friends in the wrestling game. I got friends I've known for years and years and years. Bunches and bunches of friends. Anthony's met a bunch of people that would be considered famous, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? I mean, like, you're not bragging. You're throwing. I don't need to throw people's names out there to get 600-700 people here to watch my show. I can do that on my own merits. And in fact, I'd prefer not to. But it's interesting to know that you know these people. Like, well, that's cool because everybody's got, oh, what do they like? Well, I can tell you what I know about them. That's it. You know? But those people are very jealous, angry people because they have no charisma. The one thing you need besides bathing, which is something they have like this, you know, moratorium or what do you call it on soap, you know?
They're allergic to it.
But I think that what they need to do is wash and bathe, and then maybe, just maybe, you can, you know, if you remove the moratorium on bathing and you start using soap, brush your teeth, maybe wash your ass, you might be able to talk to people and have a little bit of charisma. I don't know why people don't do that. Why do you not do that? This is a weird thing. But instead, they don't want to better themselves. They want to break you down. That's always been the way people are.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that in the fight game. It's like that in security. It was like that downtown running a club. And it's like that now. You run into these chuckleheads. The thing is, you weren't prepared for a war. You started a war, but you weren't prepared for it, were you? You thought it was just, you're going to throw some Molotov cocktails and we were just going to be on fire. That's what you thought, right?
Just be scared.
And we're just going to be scared and we're going to run. You and your buddy from the swamp. You're going to kick us in the ass, huh? You thought that was what was going to happen? And then you got bitch slapped. And that's what happened. You don't mess with people. Leave people alone. If you leave people alone, don't start no mess, won't be no mess. It's a simple formula. You know, you make good Christian people angry. Make me want to chew nails and cuss. It's not right. It makes me so mad. And I don't want to feel mad. It's like Bettina had said. She's like, I don't want to, I hate that they make me hate them. It's a very good point. Abe says the same thing. All the people y'all have attacked. Nobody wants to be angry like this and be like on you. But you make it happen. You bring it upon yourself, folks. They do. Thank you, Orm. I appreciate that. And my opinions and what I do and say don't reflect on anybody's show that I go on or anybody. They have as much control over me as I do where my hamster shits. If I pull him or Story out of their cage, Story the ferret,
Yeah.
she's going to poop where she wants to poop.
Yeah, they poop where they please.
Story was in her bedroom today.
Yeah.
She crawls up under the door. Well, Martis is a turd. He'll open all the doors. And then, like, literally, he will literally open all the doors to all of our rooms. Wouldn't you know we'd have the same door handles as the old ones?
Yeah.
So Anthony got so aggravated yesterday. He goes, dang it, I'm going to go to Home Depot. You're like talking to Martis. I'm going to Home Depot. Martis was like, what was that? What was that, human? You're going to do what? You're going to do what? He tells Anthony, I don't care. I will find a way. I will free my brothers and sisters. He's like, there will be a way. I will open those doors. He don't care, man. That cat is, dude, I heard like all this, you know, I go and everybody's door is open. All the upstairs doors. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
He opens all the doors and then he walks off. My work is done. And I see him like, go over there, get on the ledge, and then he'll jump on the other side when I go. So I go after him. Hey, he knows I'm not going to spank him, but he runs anyway because he likes to play.
Well, he'll stay in the hallway and make sure that the doors like stay open. Like it like if I get up and close the door, inevitably I'll hear him like pulling that knob over and over until he finally just pushes it open. Like, dude,
he just wants it open.
Yeah.
He don't like the door being closed at all.
He just doesn't like the division between us.
I hate if I go to the bathroom downstairs. The door starts moving, the door because it'll freak you out. Like he'll wait a week or so between doing it, and you'll get comfortable and you'll be like, "Oh, everything's great." You know, just gotta do what you gotta do, man. Here's the door handle. I'm like, "Oh, dang it, Martis," because I'm always afraid one day I'm gonna open that door and be like, "Martis," and he's not there. But it never happened. It's always him. But you know, it could be one day. But Martis is crazy, boy. He likes to open them doors, man, and he tries to open the cages.
Yeah.
He was in our room. I kid you not. This is a true story, dude. He was in our room a few weeks ago trying to free the puppies. He was over there. And I'm like, what are you doing? He looks at me like, huh? I saw these people in here in the cage and you let them out. You know, they're like, Marty, those are dogs. Those are puppies. They belong in a cage. They don't belong in a cage. We're all people here. You're prejudiced. You're prejudiced against fur. I argue with him all the time, man. But he's a cool dude, man. I like him. He's funny. And Panzer. There's all these places to lay. He goes and lays on the pinball machine. He's like laying there. And he's always flipping around.
Yeah.
And you're like Panzer. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, he looks down at Marty's like, I think he's talking to you. You ain't talking to me. Why are you asking me? Why are you bothering me? Why you ask me questions? Like, Panzer, you're so fat now. How did you, are you going to judge me? You going to judge me? If you don't like me in my fattest, you don't like me in my thinnest.
He's like, I have a thyroid condition.
He just eats and eats and eats.
Yeah.
And then he'll jump. He jumps. He aims for the nuts.
Yeah.
He's on your balls, boy. He
doesn't jump on your lap.
That's what
Just,
he
like,
does.
Stomps on your testicles.
He just and then he walks in a circle.
Yeah.
You like that, huh? Because he knows I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
I got a picture of him doing that. Let me show you. Let's see if I can find one.
You know, I got a picture of him getting aggravated by the puppies, and he's like hissing at them. He's so mad.
Oh, dude, he gets onto them puppies. He don't like them.
There he is. Check it out.
He keeps asking me if we're going to get rid of them.
He's so mad right there.
Who is that? Ezzy?
I
That's
think
Elvira next to him, right?
Yeah,
there,
that's Elvira. That's Ezzy messing with him, and there's Pancher's reaction, like, get away from me.
Let me see if I can find this here. All right, here we go. That's Panzer. You see my legs? He's sitting right on my body right there. And he has to be, and if he's not right there on top of you, just like where he's upset, and he knows my animals crawl all over me, dude. I'm a pushover for my animals. I don't get mad at them. Well, I do, but I don't really tell them anything. You remember when I had the study in the old place?
Yeah.
There'd be like 5 of them. They're just piled on, and the pig would just lay right on top of my legs.
Yeah.
He would just be like, and I'd have to deal with it. I mean, if that door is open, they just come running in. Like bird, cat, dog, whatever we got. I love them. You got to have animals, dude. I can't, and I've thought about it long and hard, and I've gotten to where I'd eat very little beef. I can't eat beef anymore. And I don't even want to have cows to slaughter. I just want to raise them because I want to have bulls, sell the people to other ranchers, let them do with them. I'm not going to send them to slaughter. Can't do it. So I decided we're not going to raise animals for beef. I know that sounds goofy, but there's other things you can do. So, we're going to use our animals, and the other animals, when they want to take them and the other ranchers want to do it, whatever they got to do, but I'm not going to because it'd be hypocritical. So we're going to have a couple of goats, and we're just going to use them to take care of the yard and that sounds goofy.
Yeah.
But what we want to do is shear sheep.
Yeah.
Because there's actually money in that. So we got a big enough place too. We just got to get it,
And they actually have to be sheared, otherwise they just keep growing and growing.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I don't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
But I'm a realist too, though. I understand that at some point, if it's an animal is made for food, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that because I get too attached to animals. I cannot raise an animal, get close to it. Now, I could raise a baby to be a bull, and then somebody else can take it and have it to make more animals.
Yeah.
But these big farms that they make where these animals, I'm not PETA. I'm not an insane person. But, these animals that are raised in these horrible conditions, I can't stand the way they slaughter hogs. Now, there are nuisance animals.
Yeah.
And wild hogs in this state are an absolute nightmare. Them and coyotes, man, I got very little tolerance for them. First of all, they'll tear up everything you have, and they'll tear up your animals too. So if you care about your animals, you have to protect them. And so you have to be realist, I'm not going to get a big old operation with cows. It's just not, I'm just not going to do it. Because at some point they have to, oh, look at this. They decided to show up. All that jewelry cries, look at me. You want to look at me? Here's that right there. How about that? You want to look at that? How about that clan? You part of the clan? Is that what you are? You wear a hood? Try. It's called an investment, stupid. Should look into it. Clan. Maybe you should look into washing and shaving once in a while. Oh yeah, Wedge, you're absolutely right. So who we picking for the win here so we can get out of here? Because I'm already at 10:45 here.
Let's see. I don't remember now. But Danny Feller was the first one to speak up.
Danny Feller says, me. Okay, Danny. Whatever. Exactly, Rain. First comment ever. We're laughing at you. Yeah, we're laughing at you. We are. Chris Cola. Is Chris still here? If you're still here, let me know that you're here and you win. Because you won't know that you won. If you're not here, you won't know that you won. And then you'll be like, hey, I won 3 months ago. You didn't send me anything. Well, you know, you got to see it. Jason says, I'm here. What's up, Jason? Exactly, Madeline. Goodbye, Roach. It's a Roach. The funny thing is they have to be subscribed for like 3 days, right? Before they can comment. But they're so dedicated that they'll subscribe to do that.
Yeah. Got to be a subscriber for at least 3 days just to comment.
Yeah.
So I guess they like pre-plan their stupid little troll comments 3 days in advance, and then they'll subscribe and go back 3 days later. Jeez.
Keep trying. Maybe one day the coyote will actually catch the Roadrunner, or Elmer Fudd will actually get rid of Bugs Bunny, but probably not. Because the guy that created that actually was born in my hometown.
Clover, I think you're the only Gen
we got fan. A few. We got a few, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, y'all are very rare. Most of our people are.
No, that's not correct, Maddie.
What?
In order to win, your name has to be in green. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So tell me this: did you guys like that we told a bunch of smaller stories? Now they weren't real long encounters, but there were a bunch of them. Some people really like when I get all these encounters from one particular group of people, and we just kind of stick with that. But then some people like it when we jump around, man. So anybody else want to win? Let me know. And Orem, by the way, we've talked or whatever. If you or your wife want anything at all, just send me a list of what you want. I'll send it to you. Same goes for you people that have the wrench. You're welcome, whatever you want. And yeah. I guess Chris Cole is gone. So we got to pick somebody else, man. We need one more person. Come on.
We got someone who spoke up. And
then when we go to leave, let's play Allison. What is it? The Looking Glass.
Yeah.
Sweet, sweet Alice stared at the looking glass. That's a good one. Trust Jesus says yes. Tonight's stories. You like that? Good. It's awesome.
Danny, you were already picked.
Yeah, Danny won. So Julie's guitar, I think she didn't win. Julie,
that's who it was.
Julie. So Julie, then we got you. So there it is at the bottom. Giveaways at prtpodcast.com, right? Giveaways at prtpodcast.com. Yeah. Pray for us. The first thing we got to go do is go lock up a pool where we've had an altercation. We don't want problems. So please pray for us that we don't have problems because these people are so insane. Nelson says, I haven't won, but bought from the store. Well, you know what, Nelson, do you solid. You come back this coming week. Are we going to be on Friday? I don't know if we're going to be on Friday. There was somebody that was booked for June and Friday, and I got to go look. If it's not, then it's not. But we'll probably be back on Sunday for sure. How would you guys like it if I just did an impromptu live, like on a Saturday or something, just popped on? Would you guys show up for that?
People always show up for impromptu lives.
Yeah, but you want your core of the phalanx there,
yeah. Your
right?
What was it called? Triarii?
What are you talking about?
Like the Roman
the Tortuga?
No, the Triarii was like a certain.
formation.
No, it was like a certain group within the Roman army. Like they would have the veterans, and then like the kind of wet behind the ear soldiers. But they had like they would organize their units a certain way. I think Triarii were like the veterans.
Okay.
And then
You're talking that was not that.
there was
no.
another word for like the new
No, the
recruits.
Triarii. I know what you're talking about. The Triarii were the third wave.
Uh-huh.
That's what that was. Yeah, they were not they were the experienced veterans.
Yeah.
And they encapsulated the back end of the army.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were the third level.
Yeah.
Third tier. That's why they called it that. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I think it's referring.
They were
to
the veterans, like they weren't up front.
No, they weren't.
No,
and because the wet behind the ears newer guys were the last tier.
Mhm.
Triarii guys were right in front of them,
Yeah.
so they would mimic them. And then you had the experienced veterans that were middle of the road.
Mhm.
You know, they weren't like too old, but they had been seasoned and had fought. Those were in the front. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Wedge says Roman special forces, not really. Their job was to hold the line, basically. You know, if it started to collapse, that was their job to do this, kind of like encapsulate the bulk of the army. They were in the third wave, which there could be 5, 6, 7 waves of soldiers. One of the things, and let's not get into, because I can I'll talk about military stuff all day. Look, when it comes to ancient history, the Roman military, though, when you take a look at the way they structured it, it was something to behold, because they learned when they were defeated, they learned. You know where they learned was when they were getting their ass kicked by Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
For 10 years, he rampaged across Rome until finally he had to face Rome in Rome, and he couldn't penetrate. He couldn't defeat them. And then they decided to go and invade Carthage, and then he was recalled. Well, what got me was like, why did they wait so long to go and do that?
Yeah.
Somebody just said, hey, why don't we just go and make them fight in Carthage?
The best defense is a good offense.
Let's just go and invade Carthage. But what ended up happening, they realized that he was breaking through a lot of these secondary, they were just covered by not well-seasoned troops.
Mm-hmm.
So he was winning these wars, these fights all across the peninsula. You know, like, you know, in the Venetian area, and he was winning in Milan and all these, which would become those cities. But those were like outposts. And they were garrisoned with like not real seasoned troops. And he was just slaughtering them. Because Hannibal was a very great general. Hannibal, not Hannibal Lecter, Hannibal and Hasdrubal, Barca. They were Carthaginians. What they did, though, was very ingenious. Like, he took all these like Thracian horsemen, the Thracian cavalry with the short sword. They were really good slingers, you know, from certain parts. The Boeotian archers, you know, these guys on the horseback. They were able, you know, he took them all and he used them to deadly effect. And he was really good at getting the matchups that he wanted against the Romans. And so what ended up happening, they won so much. It was like 10 years of just victory after victory after victory. And he was smashing Roman army after Roman army. And they were like, why are we losing? Because these guys had gotten kind of soft. You know, it was a time during the Republic. And the Senate was torn between how are we going to fight this guy? You know, they weren't, let's put it this way. The Roman military was not as efficient under the Republic as it was the Caesars. Why do you think that is? Take a stab in the dark.
Well, because you can't get anything done whenever everyone has a voice.
Exactly.
I mean, you just can't.
Democracy. Now, you know, Crassus,
Mm-hmm.
he's the one that defeated Spartacus. He says nothing can get done in this republic if it's a democracy. He's like, Greek democracy has no place in a republic.
No.
Cicero argued, hey, that we needed more, whatever. But then at the end of the day, he was a noble. He was a nobility. And he says, let's not get stupid with this. Let's be honest. This is a republic, not a democracy, not a Greek democracy. Socrates and his democracy had no place there. They were just like, we are not Greeks. We are Romans. And this is a republic. And if everybody is got an idea like how they're supposed to do it, then everybody gets a voice. Not everybody gets. And the big problem was you have to spend a lot of money to train these soldiers, and then you have to send them to war to become seasoned. And what comes back trains the next wave.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when that money has to come from somewhere? Where does it come from? So it comes from taxes. So then you, as a nobleman, as a senator, you have to take a pay cut so that the army is efficient. And so under the Republic, what Hannibal and Hasdrubal were doing to the Romans, taking them behind the woodshed for a decade, that would not have happened under the Caesars.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would have just been a Caesarian decree, and they would have marched out and they would have annihilated them. That's my opinion. Because they would have sent wave after wave after wave, whereas this was scattered and there was all this provincial bullshit, and each one had its own little sort of fiefdom.
Yeah,
you know, each region. They had these regents that were in charge, these governors, if you will, and they were just like, "We're not giving up all of our money while you get killed."
Yeah,
and that's what ended up happening. So eventually, they had to go, "Hey, we need to fight this guy." You know, on even terms. When I was a young man, I was like 20 or something, and I read about Hannibal. I read a book about that thick about him, and I thought the quarter of the way through, I'm like, this happened because of these stupid son of a bitches. They couldn't agree on the time of day. Hannibal exploited that big time. He even said, he was like, I'm going to use their own arrogance against them. He did.
Yeah.
I mean, he spanked them, dude. He lost like a third of his army going across the Alps. It's like what happened with the Germans in the Ardennes. Nobody believed that they could get through the Maginot Line. Nobody believed that they would penetrate the Ardennes except the Germans.
Yeah.
And then they just show up and they're like, oh no, what the hell happened? We're eating croissants and boom, they're here. This is good. You know, because croissants are tasty. But it was crazy because like they're just like, they're boom, they're right there. Did they go through a Porto? No, they went through with mechanized efficiency through a really dense forest where, you know, Heinz Guderian, he said that the trees weren't a foot apart.
Yeah.
What does it matter if you're driving a tank? But the First World War, they were like, well, tanks are these big, bulky things that absorb bullets, you know. No, they totally did away with that, and they made these tanks go really fast and really the speed and the power, the mobility, and they combined it with heavy armor and boosh, they were through. They were not these big hulking tanks that the British were bringing to the field. And we saw what ended up happening. It was a clash of not only of different styles, but it was a clash of era. The era of the old bulky whatever, bullet absorbing whatever, or the small sort of clunky whatever that they thought, oh, bigger is better. The Germans were like, bigger's not better. They eventually used the King Tiger because they had to knock out those T-34s and the Matildas. But that was not the original. The Panzer was the original. That's why we named Panzer because he's a tank. He's a big cat.
Mm-hmm.
But this tank that these cats, well, you named him, not me, but it's a good name.
Yeah.
You know, because he's gray and he's big, you know. But these tanks, you know, that's what they did. Hannibal had his version of tanks at that time. You know what that was? The elephant. And a bunch of them died crossing the Alps. But nobody believed. They were just like, they're scouts. They told them, they said the Gauls, they told them, they said, you know, you're about to be invaded. They're like, he's up into the Alps. He's gonna die. I don't know why they would talk like Mario, but you know, Italian. And the Gallic soldiers, their spies told them, they said, no, they're crossing. And a lot of our people have joined them. Now pay me. You know, and they were just so arrogant about it. And then when he showed up in northern Italy, he had to cross some more mountains there. You know, the Swiss. You know, he crossed the Swiss Alps and went across, and just, you know, it was an epic undertaking. And everybody was like, "How did this guy get here? He walked. He marched."
Yeah.
You don't have to go and show up. They had the ports all batted down. You know, he's not going to get here. He's not going to go there. It would have been easy just to swim across, you know, North Africa and Italy right there and just go, whoop, you know, you're waiting for him. So he crossed the Alps. He crossed a mountain range in France, and then he went across in Transalpine Gaul, and then he just went right over the mountains in Austria, the Austrian Alps, and then he was over in Italy, and everybody was just stunned. And then he literally rampaged across the Italian peninsula for 10 freaking years. Until finally they said, some senator got off his fat ass and was like, and I don't know if he talks like that, but he said,
I'm pretty sure he did.
why don't, he's got the thing hanging down. Why don't we go and invade his land? They're like, what are you talking about? Theseus, this is ridiculous. Although it could work. I want to take credit for this. Sit down, junior senator. It was my idea if it works. They're like, it's working. Yeah, it's working. Yay. Yeah, I'm glad I thought of it. Woohoo. So somebody else took, whatever, and says, hey, we knew it would. We knew it would work. I knew it would work when I said it that day. What I said. They're like, speech. Yes. And so I said, let's go beat his ass over there in Africa. And then that's what we did. Thank you. Where's my wreath? It was some dickhead doing that.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And then everybody was like, wow, what a genius, that guy. He's, and they said it was the Senate that did it. And then it says, well, we're going to take credit for it with you. Photo op. The guy's drawing as fast as he can in wax. Once again, amazing work. He shows him. He's like, thank you. And he's always got to have the one guy that has the weird British accent. Oh, thanks. I've been working at it my whole life. I'm like, why does that guy talk like that? The rest of us are talking transatlantic, and you're from Chelsea. He's got a little wax figure, probably stick figures.
Yeah.
This is you. He's the other senator, and this is the guy taking credit for it. Bad teeth. Are you British? No. Of course you are. All of the movies we talk like this. Even the Empire. Cross between the Nazis and the Romans. Another thing, too, people don't realize this, but the Roman salute, what do you think that is? That's what the Nazis were doing.
Yeah.
You know who did that, right? You know who did that? The fascists. You know who did that?
Yeah.
They went like this, and then they did the little whatever. Yeah. That's Mussolini. He was actually pissed that he said they stole it. You stole that from me. No, I won't do it. I'm in protest. I'm just going to do this. And
well, we used to do that in America for the Pledge of Allegiance. Like that was the original salute. Was that Roman salute? Like there's pictures of kids in classrooms saying the Pledge of Allegiance with that salute.
Because that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. Because the Romans did that. But the Romans would do this, and then they would put their hand like that and go over the fire. Yeah, there was a fire. There was a purification, and it was like, oh, my honor is true, whatever. And the Germans just basically co-opted it. And they're like, oh, they took the funniest thing is they said, they took the swastika and they turned it around. There is no turning around. It's a Buddhist symbol.
There's no right or wrong way.
It doesn't matter. And if you go to a Buddhist house or a Hindu's house, and if you're offended by the swastika, you're going to be real offended. Yeah. Because they got it all over the place. And it's funny because, like, if you sit there and you analyze all of this and you look back at history, you're going like, how did this happen? How did this symbol become this and this symbol become that? It's a long, convoluted history. The people of the Matrix, the people, and I say this, the people who love the Matrix, like these roach people, they love it because they're a part of it. They are grafted into it. They are literally part of the Matrix. They will never break out of the Matrix. They are they're children of the Kali Yuga. We are not. We are not the sheeple. They're the actual sheeple. They attack like wolves, but they're not. When repelled by a wolf, you know what they do? They cry and they get injured. And they cry out as they attack you. And then they run and they say, we've been attacked. We've been attacked. We've been attacked. They're Nazis. They're talking about history, science, math. They can't stand it. First of all, their IQ is not hard enough to comprehend or understand any of this. They hate it. They can't stand it. They're like, there's a lot of bad noise going on over there, with their black teeth. Yeah. Of course. Your brain, which is full of cockroach shit, cannot understand it. You can't handle it. So we got to stop the guy who's making the bad noise. He's making bad noise. We don't like him. This is it. We got to do something about this guy. He is just, because you're the Pharisees. That's what you are. And everybody that's like them, their father is not our father. Remember that. Jesus tells us exactly. They are of the Shaitan. They're of Satan and of their father, Satan. So they want to stop anything you can do, anything you will teach your people, because they want everybody to be sheeple like them. I posted something on Facebook. It says, people who aren't brainwashed be mad as F. They're mad as hell that you're not brainwashed like them.
Yeah.
So the Kali Yuga, the Matrix, whatever, it sends these agents, the Smiths. They show up and they're like, you're doing a good job, Roach Boy, but you need to step it up. You don't want to go to jail, do you? He's like, I'll do better. Yes, Grima, do better. Do better, Worm Tongue, or you will. So he's only got a little bit of time before he's got to do what he's got to do before they do throw the book at him or whatever is going to happen to this guy. Right? So that's what they do. They have to. They're being coached and taught this on a spiritual level, on a physical level, on a mental level. It's happening. And they're mad as hell that you're not like them. You don't have the retardation. Remember that. So that's it. It's very simple. And when you come here, you learn. Like today, you learn something. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first, I kind of thought you were talking about Trier, which is,
no,
that's a city.
Mhm.
Yeah, Triari. I believe it. If you want to look it up, folks, I think it's T-R-I or T-R-I.
I know that it ends with two I's.
Yeah, it's I. Triari.
Yeah, Triari.
Or T. Let's see.
Well, I think Triari.
Triari. T-R-I-A-I-I. Sorry.
Well, I think Triari with one eye would be like singular, but then with two eyes, Triarii refers to them as plural.
I don't want to misspell. I think it's T-R-I-A-I-I, right?
I think so. Or
T-R-I-A-R-I. I. Two eyes, right?
Triarii.
I'm missing the R there. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I know what I'm seeing, but I know what I'm saying. Here, let's see. Let me look it up. Triari, there it is. Triarii.
Yeah.
It says the third liners were one of the elements of the early Roman military manipulator legions of the early Roman Republic. They were the oldest and among the wealthiest men in the army and could afford high quality equipment. See, I knew they weren't like the special forces. They were just like, they wore heavy metal armor and carried large shields. Their usual position would be on the third, being the third line, battle line. They were equipped with spears and were considered to be elite soldiers among the legion.
Mm-hmm.
They fought in a shallow phalanx formation supported by light troops. In most battles, Triarii were not used because the lighter troops usually defeated the enemy before the Triarii were committed to the battle. They were meant to be used as a decisive force in the battle, thus prompting an old Roman saying, res ad triarios venit. It comes down to the Triarii, which meant carrying on to the bitter end. There you go. All right, folks, thank you for tuning in and making PRT what it is. Without you, we don't have a show. And we appreciate everything you've done and supporting us. And thank you for everything you've given us by being a part of this show. We applaud you. Those who are about to die, salute you. I'm not going to do it. I would, but I'm not, because I don't love Hitler. And I got to go around my life trying to prove that I don't love Hitler. So I'm going to go all the Hitler pictures in my house, I'm going to put an X on them. Then I'm going to take a picture of them, and I'm going to stick it on Instagram to show and to prove that I'm not into the Nazis.
I'm going to take that big old swastika flag in my house and put a big X on it with a big giant Sharpie.
A big giant Sharpie. It's going to be in white.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't use white. I should use something else with power. Blue. It's going to be blue power. Blue. You see like this. Blue power. Blue power. You see what I'm saying? It is a symbol of blue power. Wait, that's Democrats. Damn it. Dang it. Here it is. Red. It is red. It is a symbol of red power. Red power. You understand? Like I'm playing cards with my brother's kids. Which I've actually done, by the way. And he cheats. I was going to say. All right, guys, we're going to see you later, man. We'll see you probably on Sunday, but who knows? I might pop in just to say hi. We'll see what happens. We're going to play some music on the way out here.
Alice, step through the looking glass, step through the looking glass, whimsical but logical, peculiar, strange, a white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day, but I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Skeleton keys open everything, a wonderland key to change everything. Doors so small, wondering who could fit in there at all. A potion to drink, one sip it'll take. What a mistake. The wonderland cake, another mistake. Alice's tears begin a lake so big the game is rigged. Peculiar, strange, a white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day, but I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Friend or foe, the caterpillar, no smoke, rings of wisdom, magic mushrooms in this kingdom size to control. Alice continues her stroll. Peculiar, strange, a white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day, but I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Red-headed tea party so bizarre, and everything is strange by far, confusing and absurd. The conversation is a blur. Nonsensical riddles like playing a grasshopper as a fiddle. Why is the raven like a riding desk? I'm sure the answer is somewhere in the middle. It's all in perspective to say what you mean and to mean what you say. Peculiar, strange, a white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day, but I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Sarcastic is he, definitely the Cheshire cat grinning. Advice on direction with no goals of his own. Persistent grin, philosophical debates. He knew the white rabbit was always gonna be late. Peculiar, strange, a white rabbit with a clock on a chain. He's late for a very important day, but I must follow, I must know where the white rabbit goes. Queen of hearts with unfair trials, executions for everyone all the while. She does this all with a frown, not a smile. Angry is she with her unforgivable deeds. 7, 5, 2, what do you do when it's off with your head? You paint the roses red. Ooh, painted the roses red. They'll soon find themselves dead. No, it's off with her head. Alice wakes up in her bed.